Yo everyone, thank you and welcome back to the channel. Listen, we're going to kick off straight away with this Jay Cameron video because the bottom line is it completely underscores where we're going to be going. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. Let's kick off with Jay Cameron interviewing a property developer in Ghana. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
Yeah.
And you could get the house for $1. They were giving houses away.
Yeah.
This was like 1990, right around there. Today, you will not find anything. You won't get dirt in DC for $1 because the development was happening, but right in front of our eyes.
Listen to the conversation.
We couldn't see it. But now, when I come to Accra, Ghana, and other places, Lagos, Nigeria, even in Kumasi, and Freetown, Sierra Leone, I see the development happening, and I see the opportunity, especially when I see all the people getting off the plane that don't look like me.
Yeah, I said, that business class and first class. Who's sitting up there?
You sit there, you say, what y'all doing here? Well, yeah. But for us, and I believe this is why our conversation is so important, to help.
First and foremost, right, I just want to say, listen, me and the wife, we've been to Ghana and, trust me, there are a lot of non-African heritage people that fully understand all of the opportunities that are happening in Ghana, West Africa, Central Africa, South Africa, all over Africa. And if they can see all of those economic opportunities, the business opportunities and all the rest of it, what are we doing? Whether you're Black, African descent, living in the UK, Europe, or the States or the Caribbean.
Help our people see. You know, many of our ancestors came from this part of the world, whether along the coast, whether from Senegal all the way down into Cameroon and below. The opportunities are there for us too. It's not like it's for the people coming out of Europe and Lebanon and Asia just to take advantage of it, but for us to come back and to be a contributor, not one who exploits, but to contribute to the culture and to the society where it's a reciprocal relationship and both sides are winning. So that's what you're doing, everything that you said.
Yeah.
And again, that's, Jay Cameron is completely and utterly correct, right? Our relationship with the African continent, right? We win when we create a relationship, a reciprocal relationship. That is, that's how, that's when we win. And half of us, at least half of us living in the UK, have got family in West Africa, in Central Africa. I grew up with a load of guys and girls, basically, whose families come from Western, Central, and Africa. Not just the Caribbean, even though my family come from Jamaica. So we have that link, and basically we should use it. And if you come from the States, then your DNA is pretty much West African, just like mine. But basically, it's about using those links.
It's definitely it's different than those other groups coming in and trying to contribute. You know what I mean? We can see each other as brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? People ask all the time, "Wow, what's going on with your workers X, Y, and Z?" I tell them I had one of my workers wanted to name his baby after my mother. I like, you don't even know my mother, you know what I mean? But just out of honor and respect of being here, X, Y, and Z. And so these are some of the things where, people don't see those stories. I had a lady who was coming to the property and she was selling food, her and about 5 or 6 other ladies. She passed. I didn't know her, but she passed. And, I came to her funeral with my team here because they was buying from her, went to the funeral. They asked me to speak at the funeral because I was essentially her employer, because she came here to work, even though I wasn't directly employing her. And I donated money, and they asked me, was it okay to take the body off in their funeral, just the respect they have for me as a family. You know what I mean? So these are some instances where we don't understand how we can play a part and be a part of the communities and do what we can do by bringing the resources we can from the States over here and building up Africa, by building up Ghana. You know what I mean? Because we're not seeing a return in the U.S. that we should be receiving. That taxation, that representation, where we still only own less than half of 1%, as we did in 1865 when we was free, to now in 2024. We still only own 1/2 of 1% of the wealth.
And that's an African-American story, or an ADOS story, or if you like, an FBA story. Similar story to us living in the UK. We've been, our grandparents came here, if you like, during the late 50s onwards, late 50s, 60s, on what people commonly know as the Windrush, or at least the Windrush generation, if you come from the Caribbean days. Some of us came here, some of our grandparents came here on aeroplanes in the 60s. My granddad came here in 1960. But the bottom line is, roll on, 50, 60 years, and what do we have in the UK? What does my generation have in the UK? What? A mortgage. That's what we've got. Some of us have done very, very well, but very few of us have done really, really well. And most of us are living from paycheck to paycheck, if we're honest, You know, some of us have got pensions, just retired. I'm 56. I've got a brother living there. They've just retired. They've done really, really well. But then, you know, they got a lovely house. It's worth over £1 million, which is absolutely fantastic. But the bottom line is, their kids, you know, they got 3 kids. What is there besides living from paycheck to paycheck? You know, because they're all, you know, more or less in their very late 20s or 30s. You know, my brother's oldest son is 40. What have they got? They're living from paycheck to paycheck. Got jobs, but where's the? I think we can do better. And so what this brother's talking about so far, or talks about so far, is doing better than living, being a wage slave. Yeah, growing up living in the UK.
How long is it going to take for us to get our fair share for the energy? We're not going to get.
Obviously, he's talking about
we
the States.
pray, we
related,
can march,
it's the
we
same
can sing,
story.
we can vote. How long do we have to wait? I got tired of waiting, brother. My reparation's over here. You know what I mean? I'm over here living my best life. You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine living like I'm living, you know, like in the States. I couldn't do that. I can't go back there. I just can't do it. I'm here at peace and trying to show others how to come over here and be at peace, live your best life.
And with that word peace,
Peace
is what so many of us are looking for.
Peace.
And
Peace.
many of us have done therapy, which
I have to say this, you know, once a few years ago, during lockdown, actually, we did a Zoom session. It was a male-female thing about relationships and all the rest of it. And even though actually prior to that, on the lead up to that, I was having a conversation, me and a group of guys trying to plan the session. And an older brother, he must be in about, you know, this brother must be about 61, great guy, businessman, owns a few companies, owns a lot of properties. He said, asked, you know, the guys that were in the meeting, he said, what's the one single thing? And this guy had been married, is married, has been married, and he's got grown-up sons. They've been married for about nearly, I don't know, 20, 30 years. Beautiful wife, great couple, great ministry and all the rest of it. He said, what's the single biggest thing that men want in a relationship? And, you know, we all gave our answers and all the rest of it, you know, good answers. But he said, no, peace. Men want peace. Well, men are looking for peace. But you can extend that to the whole life, to your whole life. Men want peace, not just in our relationships and marriages and all the rest of it, but in every area of our lives. And we have to be really honest, guys. All the black men that are going to be watching this, you've got to be really, really honest, right? Ask yourself, in what area of your life do you really, honestly have peace? Do you have it at work? Do you have it when you walk out on the street? Do you, be honest, do you have it in your relationship or lack of relationship? Do you have it in your bank balance? Right? Do you have peace? You know, and anyway, let's run the rest of this.
I encourage anyone who needs to do therapy to do it. But I have found so many who, when they simply get outside of that system, it's one of the most therapeutic things they could have ever done.
Yeah.
And the stress and the tension and all those things that they were carrying for generations. Stuff they didn't even know they were carrying.
Until you land over here and you got these bags that you just let go of when you hit the airport.
That's
you know,
right.
you was carrying these bags. We've been carrying so many bags and dealing with so much BS at the workplace where we got to bite our tongue. We got to change our voice to appeal to others. To make
change our hair, change our face, change our name, all kind of things.
You get a job or somebody call your phone. You have 2 voices, your white voice and your regular voice. Why do we feel the need? We have to change who we are, to code switch, to accommodate other people's feelings and their morality. Why do we? That's a mental illness. I automatically have to do that. Well, I shouldn't have to change my voice. I'm gonna keep my voice and be who I am. I have to set me for who I am. It's not about reading the room. No, it's about appealing to them because I feel lesser than them. And so I have to do this so I can accommodate their feelings. That's a mental illness, brother, that we have that we don't even address. I can't do that. I can't do that. You know what I mean? We shouldn't have to do that as a people. And that's why I'm trying to get more people to see. And it's each his own. Africa's not for everybody. Ghana's not for everybody. You know, just like America isn't for everybody because it's sure not for you know what I mean? That's why I'm over here living my best life.
There's so much there, right? There's so much there, right? I don't even know where to start. If you've never code switched at work or in any place or space, then you know that your mother's done it, your father's done it. You've sat there as a child and you've watched them, or your brother's done it, or your sister's done it, or your friends have done it, or you've been at work and you've watched your black work colleagues do it, or you've done it. Maybe you do it every single day on the job. These guys are Americans sat in, I'm assuming, Accra having this conversation. But the truth is, this conversation is relevant to all of us black Brits. I hate the term. I've never called myself a black Brit before I started doing YouTube. I always thought myself as a African heritage person living in the UK. But the bottom line is, this whole thing about code switching to make other people feel comfortable is something we've all done, if we're honest. I know I've done it, you know, making yourself to seem smaller, be smaller, to basically make your white work colleagues, or just people sitting on the bus, right, you know, or on the tube, on the subway train, you guys in America call it a subway train, just basically make yourself appear to be less threatening, even though you're not. It's about being able to breathe. It's about feeling comfortable. It's about, you know, we as black men, we have a right to all of that. And what this brother who's building in the process of not Jay Cameron, the guy he's interviewing, I can't remember, I haven't got his name, but do go and check out Jay Cameron's channel. Great channel, brilliant content. But the guy he's interviewing basically laid it out. He is a property developer in Ghana, building property, and he just laid out the lives, I'm sure, of at least 90% of all black men living in the West. If we're honest, that's just the God's honest truth. He's laid out the lives of 90% of all black men living in the West, right? He spoke about mental illness, right? Because if you're living that kind of life consistently, it's going to drive you crazy. You know, you've got to be mentally. Why do we have to be abnormally mentally strong in order to just live like a human being, like a man, like any other man in the West? Why? So what this brother has just got through saying is, you know, each to their own. If you want to continue living in the West in 2025, that's entirely your choice, right? Horses for courses. If you want to carry on living in the West, if you want to carry on code switching, if you want to carry on living paycheck to paycheck, if you want to carry on being a target, walking around with a target on your back, basically living at the hands of some overzealous police officer, right? If you want to carry on basically paying crazy money, right, going out, taking undeserving women out on crazy expensive dates, if you want to carry on living basically like a flipping God, what do you call them? A Mr. Johnny no mates with no friends, right? And I'll put it like that because when you live in any Western city, right, as a black man in 2024, not in 2024, 2025 going forward, right, you are working, you're out working, and the amount of time you've got left to go and socialize is minimal. That's just the God's honest truth. If you want to carry on doing all of that, right, then what this brother just got through saying is, it's yours. You know, it is yours. Let's listen to some of this again, just the last little bit
that we have that we don't even address. I can't do that. Some of the other people's feelings and their morality. Bags that you would just let go of when you hit the airport. That's you know, right. He was carrying these bags. We've been carrying so many bags.
Fair use.
Dealing with so much BS at the workplace. So we got to bite our tongue. We got to change our voice to appeal to others. To
change our hair, change our face.
Change your voice and change your hair. I mean, at least I think that's one thing black men possibly don't have to do. Black women think they do, though. I don't really think black women have to. I think black women feel that they have to. You know, get a blonde weave just to hold down that corporate job. Oh my Lord!
Name all kind of things.
You get a job or somebody call your phone. You have two voices: your white voice and your regular voice.
Yep.
Why do we feel the need? We have to change who we are the code switch to accommodate other people's feelings and their morality. Why do we? That's a mental illness. Automatically have to
Or it causes mental illness. That's what it does. It causes it.
do that. Well, I shouldn't have to change my voice. I'm gonna keep my voice and be who I am. I have to set me for who I am. It's not about reading the room. No, it's about
And that whole phrase, read in the room. What the hell? What you mean? So basically, at what point from when you leave the house to go to work 7 o'clock in the morning, if you got a job, right? At what point can you be yourself as a black man living in the West from the time you leave your house 7 o'clock in the morning, getting onto public transport, getting into work, leaving work and going on? At what point during the day can you honestly be yourself? And I'm not saying you can, I'm not saying you can let it all hang out, in any place and space. You still got to be professional. I'm talking about just basically being yourself. Seriously. It's a question. And if you think everything's fine for you, everything's running the way you can be exactly who you need and want to be in your part of the West, absolutely fine, honestly.
appealing to them because I feel lesser than them, and so I have to do this so I can accommodate their feelings. That's the mental illness that we have to address. I can't do that. You know what I mean? We shouldn't have to do that as a people, and that's why I'm trying to get more people.
Shouldn't have to do it.
People to see, and it's each his own. Africa's not for everybody.
Yep.
China's not for everybody.
Africa is not for everyone.
For everybody, because it's sure not for me. You know what I mean? That's why I'm over here living my best life.
Amen.
Well, we are talking to Mr. Dre Taylor from The Beyond Investments. And I want everybody to really take a look at the story. I mean, there's so many.
Okay, look, I'm gonna leave that one there, right? I just thought, that was a good one to open up with, right? I thought it was a good one to open up with. Boy, something else. I thought that was a good one to open up with because I know that, I see myself in what he was saying, and 100%, if you're honest, you've got to ask yourself that question. Do I see my life in at least one aspect of what that brother was talking about? But anyway, look, this channel going into 2025, in fact, I won't talk about the channel yet. I'll talk about this live, right? What this live is all about is really saying to black men living in the West, whether it's the UK or whether it's the States or any other part of Europe, that, you know what, 2025, have a little think, right? Where do you want to spend the rest of your life, right? Where and how do you want to spend the rest of your life? It's a question. What do you want to be doing with the rest of your life? Where do you believe you are going to be able to achieve self-actualization? Where do you think you're going to be? Where on planet Earth do you think you're going to be able to, basically, if your plan is to get married and have a family, where do you think the best place is going to be to do that? Where do you think you are going to be able to achieve positive mental health? Those of you that are familiar with my channel, you know that I've highlighted a study that's on the Mind, M-I-N-D website. The study basically says that there's something about living in the West that drives black people crazy, right? Not using the word crazy, but he uses, friendly terms like becoming mentally ill. Yo, Dangby, good to have you aboard. And apologies for not streaming recently. I've just been doing a tax return. All right, but anyway, it's another conversation. So what this is all about, what this live's all about, and to be quite frank with you, going forward for the rest of 2025, I'm going to focus on looking at making what I consider to be a better life outside of the West. I'm going to keep focusing in on Africa because I know it's got the fastest growing economies on planet Earth. There's a record that Public Enemy brought out years ago. The record was called Don't Believe the Hype. All right, if you're too young to know that record, it's on a Public Enemy album called Fear of a Black Planet. Right, go and check it out. Don't believe the hype. Go and watch the video now. All right, don't stop watching this. Right, but in the background, just do a YouTube search. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype about yourself. Number one, as a black man living in the West, but also, you know what? Don't believe the hype about Africa. There's loads of brilliant channels now that highlight life all over so there's loads of, listen carefully, there's loads of brilliant channels now that highlight life all over the African continent. You know, travel channels. You got Woodemeyer and his lovely, God bless dear wife. He's a very lucky man, as am I. You got Austin Holloman. Yeah, and you got loads, and you got his brother in struggle. Was it Kid Greatness? Right? What a great name. Sounds like a British wrestler. Kid Greatness. Right? But anyway, you got loads of travel channels, loads of brilliant channels. You know, not just male channels as well, female channels as well. You got brilliant channels that highlight life all over the African continent. And this is not to say that Africa is it's a paradise for me, but this is not to say that Africa doesn't come with challenges. Every single country on the African continent has issues. As far as I know, Adangbi, Woodemeyer is still married, but don't quote me on that because I don't live in his house. All right. Manjor, good to have you aboard, sir. I do not live in Woodemeyer's house. Go and have a look at his channel though. Great content. All right. Even his wife has brilliant content, but there's loads of channels. So we no longer, listen, if you were born and brought up in the UK or the States or any other European country, definitely in France, the images we grew up with about Africa were all completely negative. They were all completely negative, just negative, completely negative. And let's be honest, right? If you watch the BBC or listen to the BBC World Service, not so much the BBC World Service, but still the BBC World Service on the radio, then everything you're going to watch and listen to is going to be completely negative about the African continent. Listen, unless you watch certain YouTube channels, you're still not going to know that you've got actual cities in Africa. Right? You're still not going to know because they don't show them. It sounds really daft now because obviously we've been watching YouTube. We've been watching a lot of the black content creators that focusing on Nairobi, that focus in on Mombasa, that focus in on Accra, that focus in on Kumasi, that focus in on a whole load of other Joburg, a whole load of other African cities. So now most of us know better. My brother and his wife went to Accra for the first time just before Christmas. I think they went in Nairobi for a reggae festival in Accra. They loved it. They didn't want to come back. They now want to invest in Accra. My brother is my second oldest brother is 61. I think he's 61. I should know these things, but I don't. His wife's a year older. They got 3 grown-up kids. The youngest is now 27, 28. He's going to Malaysia. He's got a teaching job in Malaysia. So now he's going to be flying out there in September. I wish I was going with him. No, I don't. That's a joke. But anyway, he's flying out there to take up that job. I looked at him and I said, listen, because he's about 6'3". I said, and he's completely built, right? I said to him, listen, I looked up at him, 27-year-old kid. I looked up at him and I said, boy, you're gonna have a wild time. And he just smiled. Right? I lost my train of thought. Get back on it. Yeah, so there's life outside of the UK. There's life for black men outside of the UK. And we should not, to be honest, right? Stop watching mainstream television. Stop. Just stop. Stop and go and see the African continent for yourself. Listen, you will be amazed. You will be amazed. You'll be amazed. And listen, right? If you were here, earlier on when I was showing that Jay Cameron stream, it's better for your mental health. That's a fact. Better for your mental health. Definitely better for your relationships, whether you want to date or look for a wife. Yeah. Better for that, 100%. Business-wise, the business opportunities for black men on the African continent are 50 times better than they are for black men in the UK or America or any other part of the West. Because listen, you've got Europeans and Chinese, Vietnamese, and every other country running to the African continent for business, to set up business, to start businesses, right? So if they're doing it, what should we be doing? We have to be honest about this. If you've got non-African heritage people running to take your place, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing? We're sitting in Europe, basically just looking for crumbs from the table. Crumbs from the table, man. That's just the God's honest truth. That is the truth. And look, this is not to down people that want to do it. This is historical. My family, as I said, came here, in the 1960s. And let's be honest, right? How far have most of us come, and what have we had to pay in order to walk that walk? We have to be honest about it. Has it been worth it? Before my mom passed away, I asked her, if you were to make the choice again, right? Would you come here? Would you come here? She didn't want to answer the question. She didn't want to answer. And if you're going to watch this, right, and you're living in the UK, and you've got Nigerian parents, Ghanaian parents, Senegalese parents, if your parents are from any part of the Caribbean, Trinidad, Bajan, Jamaican, because those are the three main countries in the UK: Trini, Bajan, Jamaican in the UK, right? If you're from the African continent living in the UK, your parents come from Ghana, Nigeria mostly, although I grew up with people from Senegal, Kenya, all over the African continent, right? But ask your parents this question: was it worth coming? Was it worth coming here? If you had to make the choice again, would you come here? Has the juice been worth the squeeze? When you look at the racism you had to go through, the stories my granddad told me, right? And not only my granddad, but the men of his generation, they were hard, they were tough. But was it worth the squeeze? And to watch your kids grow up, some of your boys go crazy, some of your boys, I don't know, end up on drugs, get stabbed up, stopped and searched by the police. All of that potential going to waste, not all, but I would say about 65% of the potential going to waste. How do I know this? Because I'm a product of the environment of the UK. That is how I can say it. It's been my experience, not only personal, but watching my friends. Ask your parents that question. Has the juice been worth the squeeze? Mother, father, has the juice been worth the squeeze? Just ask them. I've got my view, but you ask them. Ask them. Seriously. Oh boy. Well, what else was I going to say to you guys before I play the next video? Yeah, my wife wants to go Jamaica. Right, so in April we're planning on going to Jamaica, so I'm going to stream from there. I've only been Jamaica once. I wanted the next trip to be to Ghana, but anyway, the wife, she's into healthy eating, herbs, herbology, all of this sort of stuff. Which listen, I want to encourage that in her because it helps me in terms of food. Right, so we're going to go to Jamaica, look at go up into the hills and do and scout around and get some tutelage from Rastafari in terms of how they prepare their food and all the rest of it. We've got some family land in St. Catherine near Spanish Town, so we're going to go and look at the family land and hopefully, do what my mum should have done and box it properly and all that kind of stuff. That's what I plan on doing. We should have done this years ago. But honestly, there's a whole heap of family land in Jamaica, in the Caribbean and in West Africa, and it's just sitting there. That's all it is. That's all that's going on. So I'm going to try and do that and have a good time in Jamaica. But anyway, look. So in April, I'm saying that to say that I'm going to be streaming from Jamaica. We're going to be walking around Kingston. We're going to be doing all of that. And as I said, I think it's the second time I've been to Jamaica, right? But yeah, we're going to be doing that. But anyway, look, Raymond, good to see you on here, bro. Oh yeah, sorry. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. I've got to be, let's do it properly. Happy New Year, right? Happy New Year, 2025, man, 2025. This is about making moves as black men in 2025. It's about making moves as black men in 2025. That's what this is all about. Yeah, that is what this one's all about. Listen, what I want for you, if you're a black guy anywhere on planet Earth, but in particular, if you're living outside of Africa, what I want is for us to end the year in a better place to where we started the year. I want us to end the year, listen, in a better place to where we started it, financially, mental health wise, and definitely relationship wise and business wise. Yeah, I want us to end the year in a lot better place to where we started the year. Yeah. And what I'm saying with this stream is that I'm going to be really honest with you. As far as I'm concerned, that means getting out. Get out. You know that film Get Out with what's his name? Daniel DeCulia. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. The guy that did a version of Bonnie and Clyde with that black woman who was married to that white guy. Whatever. But yeah, we've got to get out. We've got to get out. Got to get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out, man. We've got to go somewhere else and see life somewhere else. Go to Nairobi. Take a holiday. My brother's taking a trip to Nairobi. Him and his wife next month. No. They're going next week. They're going to go and do 2 weeks safari and go and look around Nairobi. You know, you got to get out. Get out. But anyway, look, the next video is a British YouTuber, and it's all about, the title of the video is Why I Left London for South Africa. Why I left London for South Africa. Now, I don't know anything about South Africa today. Yeah, you know, studied a little bit about Nelson Mandela, the ANC. I know little bits, but I do not know anything, or not a lot. I know very little. I know nothing about the property market in South Africa. I'm going to start to do a little bit of research now because I've heard a lot of people talking about it. I know nothing about what it is to try and do a relationship in South Africa. We're going to be doing some research from afar in that respect. I know nothing about, social life, nothing like that about South Africa. But, I thought, let's look at this video because this is a man who does. All right. But anyway, fair use.
12 months ago, I took a one-way flight from London to Dubai, from Dubai to Cape Town, and then finally from Cape Town to Johannesburg. And let me tell you, I have zero intentions of returning to London permanently anytime soon. Now, here comes the opinions. And trust me, I've heard it all before. Why would you leave such a global powerhouse with rich history, amazing healthcare, a functioning government for what? South Africa? That place that's always in the news for economic instability.
I want you to hear that. Always in the news. Whose news? Always in the news. Whose news? Whose news? Always in the news. What? Always on the BBC, ITV, Sky News. Always in the news. So when we say the news, I think we need to put a prefix in front of that and stress whose news. Yeah? Because they're hiding the real South Africa. Yeah? Just like the Chinese are hiding the pyramids they got in China. But anyway, that's another conversation. Yeah, you heard that right. The Chinese have got pyramids that they've been hiding. But anyway.
Crime, racism, apartheid, and to top it all off, you know nobody there. Now, as much as I have different opinions, I get it. It sounds crazy.
I've got to say, that's one of the biggest barriers that stops people from traveling. It's the whole thing about, I don't know anybody there. What you mean? I've got to go and start meeting people, start making new friends. That's part of it.
But in this video, I'll be giving you 5 reasons why I made the move from London to South Africa, and why I think it may have been the best decision I've made in my entire life. Reason number 1 is cost of living. Now let's talk money. Living in London, I actually lived with my grandparents. And it wasn't because I couldn't afford to move anywhere else. Like, even if I didn't decide to live in London, I could have just moved to Birmingham, or I could have moved to Manchester. Why did I decide to move all the way across the world?
I just got to say, the truth is, right, if you are 30 years and under, right, or probably not 30, but because you can, by then you should have gotten out and maybe started renting, maybe. But if you're just out of uni, let's just say you finish university, you've done your undergrad degree, you may have even have done your professional, well, not professional qualification, but you may have done even a master's degree. Chances are you're going to be living at home. You've not got your job straight out of uni yet. So it's because it's expensive to live in London. But anyway, let the brother say it.
South Africa, right? Now, when you're renting in London, if anyone's renting in London, God forbid, you're going to be spending £2,000 a month in not a nice area. It could be a place like in Hackney or Bethnal Green or Tower Hamlets or in Ilford for...
I know Ilford very, very well. We've got an apartment there. I've got to be honest, Ilford's horrible. So sorry everyone that's going to watch this living in Ilford, Newham, that whole borough. Yeah, it's not very nice, man. It's just not very nice. Sorry, I have to say it.
A 1-bedroom flat, £2,000 a month.
Yep.
And that, for most people...
Now, if you're in the States, right, £2,000 a month, I'm sure is around about 2,300 USD, something like that. And that isn't even in a nice part of London.
London, if I'm not mistaken, is their entire paycheck. So literally your entire paycheck, not even including, oh my word, not even including taxes, is going exclusively to rent for a 1-bedroom flat in dreary, cold, miserable London. Whereas myself here, and I'm saying this not to flex by any means, I mean, you can come here and do it, right? I'm spending at the moment cold, miserable London.
I'm going to go back
exclusively.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's have a quick look at this, right? So, let's try and understand what. So this is 2024-25, right? So, what are we looking at here? I don't even know what we're looking at. Higher rate, 40%. That's tax. 37. I think these are just earnings, aren't they? Additional rate, 45%. So basic rate up to 30. Oh, this is just, he's just looking. Why is he looking at tax brackets? I mean, the average wage in the UK anyway is 37,700. Right, so that is the average rate of tax. Not so sure why that's relevant to what he's actually looking at, but anyway.
To rent for a 1-bedroom flat in dreary, cold, miserable London.
I think he's just trying to say that most of
myself here, and I'm saying this not to flex by any means. I mean, you can come here and do it, right? I'm spending at the moment £1,700 a month on rent for a 3-bedroom house in a very nice area. I mean, I've done a house tour. You can check it somewhere on your own time. Garden, pool, nice vibes for £1,700 a month. And it's not even just
The only thing, why would a single man? I think this guy's around about I think he's in his late 20s. Why would a single man need a whole house? Why would a single young man need a whole house abroad? That's the only bit, and rent that whole house, unless he's having parties there or something, something charging people to come in. That's the only bit I don't quite get. But anyway,
just housing, everything from eating out to groceries to transportation. Like in London, if you want to go, let's say I'm from East London, so let's say I want to go from Stratford to somewhere in Central, Knightsbridge or even, right? If I'm taking an Uber, I'm spending easy £150 for that trip. Not even including return, just that one way, right? Which is why most people in London, they're using TfL. You've got to get in the.
So can you imagine that Uber, right, from East London, and you want to take it into Central London? I wouldn't advise it. You're paying around about 100 quid, anything from £80 to 120, 130 pound Uber. I really wouldn't advise it. And then just imagine if you're crazy enough to be taking out a woman on a date, right? Add another 100 to 150 quid onto that, right? If it's Central London, if it's around Knightsbridge or anywhere around Central London, right? So you can add, so basically your whole night is going to be, if you're not careful, can be around about £300 to £400. And that's London, right? That's London. So what kind of money do you need to be earning to be able to do that once a week? Basically, it's just you just forget it. And if you're 25 to 30, right? You got your first job out of uni. That's if you're lucky enough to have a job, right? Well, you're not going to be living. You're not going to be living. It's that simple. You're not going to be living.
Tube, it's rush hour. This tube smells, it stinks of piss. For me, I never liked that. So whereas living in Johannesburg, I'm spending £80 a month in total for transportation.
And that's the truth. You grow up in London, right? Honestly, you get used to the smell of urine on public transportation. You get used to the smell of urine in council. I mean, I grew up on a council estate, what Americans would call a project. You get used to the smell of urine in lifts, right? That's what it is. Around about 2:00 in the morning, Central London. It's basically Central London smells of wee. That's basically it.
I don't have a car yet. I use Uber. I don't really like Bolt too much, but you can use Bolt as well. They're a bit cheaper, although the cars are a bit weird and they're dirty all the time, but you can use Uber. And it's only going to cost you maximum £10 to go from like a pretty long destination. Like let's say I'm going from, I don't know, somewhere in Santon to Midrand. That's going to cost £10, £15, right? Whereas in London, that'll cost you easily £80 or more. And this is one thing I've been talking about recently, which is global arbitrage, which is basically taking the money you're earning. Ideally, has to be remote, has to be a remote job or remote business. You're taking that income and then you're moving to a country where that goes a lot further. So what I did, I took the income I was making from remote sales, right? And then that money is worth 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as much by just moving across borders.
And that is one way anyone can move abroad. If you've got an online job, if you can work remotely, if you're an accountant, right, you can set up your own business working remotely. My accountant that I've just been doing this disgusting tax return for, basically all of that is online now. I used to go down years ago because I've been using the same accountant for years. I used to take all my receipts down to his office down there in Camberwell, right? Or Peckham. Was it Peckham? I used to take all my receipts down there. But now I do the sort of the dog's work at home, and I just share the spreadsheet with him. He does it online. This guy's got offices in Nigeria, and I'm talking about my accountant, and he's got offices in Liverpool now because he's moved from London up to Liverpool. God knows why he's moved up to Liverpool, but anyway, I'm not going to bother asking him. But that good for him. He's gotten out of London, so him and his wife and kids, they gotten out of London. But the bottom line is, it's all online. So if you're an accountant, there's so many jobs that you can now do online, right, and earn good money and have clients worldwide, right, you don't have to be here anymore. You can leave.
Number two is quality of life and social scene. Now, this is something I never really shared too much with people, but in London, I was very depressed. Now, in London, this is not something I really shared to too many people, but I was constantly depressed because you go outside, especially where I come from. I don't come from a posh area. I don't come from a nice neighborhood. I walk outside, you see council flats. It's grey. It's cold. Everything's expensive.
Right.
You know, and that was the time when I was
right.
It's grey. It's cold. Everything's expensive. You know, and that was the time when I was still building myself up. I'm still building my career now, but back then I was really in the trenches. I didn't have any money to do anything. And when you don't have money in this neighborhood, I walk outside.
Right. Okay. So you see this? Listen, most black people living in the UK grew up, especially in 2025. I'm not talking about when we first come here, because when we first came here, most of us basically bought property. Right, our grandparents or great grandparents, when they came here, they moved into each other's houses, and then they did something called pardner. West Africans may call it susu, but the bottom line is they bought property, right? And that was the best thing. That generation, the best thing they did was to buy houses. But in 2025, right, most black people are not married. Most black people come from single parent families, and all of these baby mamas, they live in council accommodation. They live in projects, council flats. So we listen to what I'm saying. Great grandparents, when they came here in the late 50s, 60s, bought houses. 50 years later, right, we've gone from owning houses to living in council accommodation, living in projects. So we've regressed. We've gone bloody backwards. And that's not an exaggeration. It's the God's honest truth. We've regressed, man. We've gone backwards. We've gone backwards. Gone from living in houses, living in and owning houses, bought not with bank money, bought with own money via partners, so whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. So we went from that, using a basic saving method that comes from Jamaica and obviously comes from West Africa somewhere, Nigeria, Ghana. And we've gone from that to living in council flats in Ilford, Peckham, not even Peckham, because Peckham's expensive now. We've gone from owning property to living in council accommodation in Ilford. Yeah, boy. And anyway, right? So listen to what the brother's going to say.
You see council flats. It's grey.
Great.
It's cold. Everything's expensive. You know,
and those of you that have never been to the UK, it's, you know, we get sunshine, 3 months of the year, right? And pretty much the rest of the time it's cold. Don't get me wrong. In the summertime, there ain't nothing, but London is lovely during the summertime. Even though most people can't buy anything because it's expensive, it's a lovely place to be. London is during the summer. London is a lovely place to be for 3 months. For 3 months, it's a great place to be. Ask any tax exile.
That was a time when I was still building myself up. I'm still building my career now, but back then I was really in the trenches. I didn't have any money to do anything. And when you don't have money in London, like, you can't do nothing, right?
You're a window shopper. When you listen, if you've got no money in London, you are doing window shopping. You're looking in on life. Life is happening behind a glass panel, and you're looking in, like you know. God, was it Oliver Twist? You're looking into that shop window, into that restaurant window, and they're eating ackee saltfish, rice and peas rundown. They're eating all of that, and you're just looking in. Because you've got no money to buy it. You've got no money to take some undeserving modern woman out on a dinner date. You ain't got the money.
Even if I want to enjoy myself, like go out to nightclubs, they call it groove, In London, we call it rave or motive. You're spending a few £100s, and that's not even a nice. You're not even having a great time, in my opinion, right? Because you're stepping outside, you put in your nice fit, and then it's raining. And for me, I never really liked that. So compared to here, my social life has definitely improved because I can do so much more with what I'm earning right now. Like, let's say I want to go out, enjoy myself. For me, I come from an African, well, not really African. People ask me, am I African? I'm not actually African. People think I'm from Niger. I'm not from Niger. I'm Caribbean. But ancestrally, we're all African, you know? Africa is a cradle of humankind. And everyone from the Caribbean came from Africa. So for those wondering, I'm not Nigerian. I just look Nigerian because we all come from Africa, right? But I grew up listening to Afrobeats. I grew up in a very African culture. And that's a lifestyle I've really accustomed to. And living in Joburg, the nightclubs here, you can go to Live, you can go to Booth, you can go to Concar, Montana, and you can have an amazing time. At Mapiano, I'm probably butchering that. I know people told me I'm saying that wrong, but music here is great, vibes are great, and you're only spending about 20, 30 pounds at most, unless you get the sections and you're really gonna go all out, right? But if you wanted to have a good time with your friends.
I mean, the truth is in London, there's ways of, you don't need money to enjoy yourself necessarily, or you don't need a lot of it. You don't, you know, you got museums that are free. You got art galleries that are free. You can go for a walk in the park. You know, there's loads of things there's loads of things you could do for nothing. I know that sounds funny, but I do mean it. There's lots of things you could do without necessarily spending loads and loads of money, right? There just is, right? Yeah, you can breathe. You know, you can look up at the sun and breathe. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, anyway.
Spending 20, 30 pounds a month. Even if you share a table with other people, you split that 20, 30 pounds for just that one night out. And of course, if you do it more often. But me, I'm not. When I first came here, I was very much out and about. I was very much like every motive I'll go to motive every other day. But now I've kind of calmed down a bit. If I'm invited out, I'll go. If I'm not, then cool, right? I've got my work to do. I'm working on my own businesses and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really have the time to be doing the most as I used to when I first came here. But I'm not judging anyone. If you guys like to go out, you like to get lit, South Africa is the best place to do that. And also, like, in terms of making connections, right? I've made a lot more connections than I have back in London. I feel like because I've not known anyone here, I've forced myself to meet people in London. Yeah, I know people from here and there. I didn't really have an incentive to be outwardly networking with people. But here, I've definitely made an effort and I've made a lot more connections than I have back home. Or have I made more connections? I don't know. I haven't really been counting like that, but I've definitely met a lot of people here from everything, like from people who work 9 to 5s, to people like having good vibes, or people who just like, I've met everyone from people who just work the 9 to 5 to people who enjoy good vibes to people who run companies, right? I've made an effort to meet people in industries that are not.
One thing I would say, and I did touch on it before, if you're going to go abroad, it helps to be the kind of person that is able to network, the kind of person who's sociable, the kind of person who's able to make links. And you got to develop that part of you that's outgoing. You've got to develop that part of you that's interested. I mean, you know, I'm going to make an assumption that if you are going to be aiming to go abroad, move abroad, or even just go on holiday, then you've got to be the kind of person who's interested in life elsewhere, people elsewhere. You know, you've got to develop a whole site, you know, and even learning a new language. I mean, I don't know, you know, we took tree lessons. Me and the wife took tree lessons a few years ago. Have I retained a lot of it? No, I haven't, to my shame. Do I plan to revisit that this year? Most definitely. We paid for the courses, and we've still got access to all of those lessons. So we are planning to revisit all of that this year. So learning the language, getting involved with the country's culture, customs, all of that sort of stuff, even the way you dress, you know, all of the above, you know. So, and eating the food and, you know, getting engaged in what's going on locally and all the rest of it. Definitely if you plan on settling in another country, the last thing you want to do is travel to another country and do what some Europeans do and just sit in your little enclave behind a high fence, right? I mean, obviously security is very, very, very important, right? But to live apart from local people, personally, in my opinion, you may as well just stay where you are. If that's what you, if that's going to be your
what
plan.
I'm used to. So for me, I'm in the online business world, I'm in the sales world, but I've met people who are entertainers or who are musicians, or in just complete different industries that I'm not personally in. And that's forced me to expand my horizons a bit more. The next reason for me, which might sound a little bit weird because I'm not actually working in South Africa, but it's career opportunities. So the career opportunities here in terms of, now when I say career opportunities, I'm not necessarily talking about me working here because I don't work a job here.
Let's talk about
I
business
have
and
my
making
own
money.
work that I do online. I work internationally. I can run this in Vietnam if I wanted to. As long as I've got a laptop and internet connection, I can make money. But it's not necessarily working here. It's more about the time zone. So for me in remote sales, the biggest problem I had when I was living in Dubai and taking calls with American clients is that the time zones are way off. So it was really difficult for me to take calls because I would have to be up at like 12 a.m., 1 a.m. in the morning, which is not really productive, right? Whereas in South Africa, this time zone is very similar to the UK, or at least very similar to Europe, which a lot of my clients are in. So it's quite easy to take calls with those people. Whereas I know some people want to move to Bali or Thailand. You've then got to wake up really early. Like I know a nomad who lives in Bali, but then when she's taking calls with her clients, she has to stay up really, really late to take those calls. Whereas in South Africa, I'm not saying in every time zone it's going to work, but it's generally a centralized time zone, which makes.
So, I mean, basically, West Africa and South Africa, I think, are only out by about 1 hour, 1 or 2 hours, right? So, yeah, it just makes life a hell of a lot easier. I know that during the summer, we're on the same time as Ghana, and is it Ghana or Nigeria, right? So, so it just makes doing business, doing online work in particular African countries a lot easier. And it's, to get to Africa, most of Africa is a lot cheaper, than it is getting someone like the Caribbean. We were looking at, look, premium economy, a premium economy direct flight to return ticket from Jamaica to Jamaica is £2,150 in April. That's what it is. And I'm a little bit claustrophobic, so I can't be traveling economy. I've done that a couple of times and it killed me. Right. So anyway, yeah, there's one or two things to look out for. But time zones, Africa is brilliant for that if you're going to be doing any kind of remote work.
Building a business, getting into sales, really, really easy. As a matter of fact, this experience has inspired me to create my first remote sales nomad course. A lot of you guys have been asking me, how do I break into the world of link in the description? I built a remote sales course to help you break into the industry. All right, number 4 is work-life balance. So as I mentioned before, in London, I didn't really have a massive social life, if I'm being very honest with you. I'd go out here and there. When I mean here and there, I mean literally maybe once or twice a month, mainly because I was living with my parents and I feel like my family, I love them, but there was a lot of heavy.
Bottom line is, living in London, you're living to work, not working to live. That is the absolute bottom line. And you only realize that either when you're burnt out or when you leave and you go somewhere else to another country, or you talk to someone else who lives elsewhere and you think, wow, you mean I can live like you? That is when you realize, right? That's when you realize that you've become a workaholic in the UK or another Western country. When you go somewhere else, when you talk to someone else, you realize I am killing myself at work for not a lot of money, compared to the quality of life that I've got, that this affords me. And compared to somebody else living somewhere else outside of the West, even when compared to people living in Italy or Greece, or mainly Italy, that have a siesta during the day.
Surveillance, like every time I want to go out somewhere, they ask me where I'm going, like, you know what I mean? Whereas now I'm living in my own place, got my own crib, I can go out whenever I want. If I want to go out clubbing at 3 a.m. in the morning, I ain't got someone asking me what I was doing at 3 a.m. in the morning. Whereas in London, obviously I couldn't do, I was living with my parents. And that's why I feel like a lot of you guys who are 24, 25, 26, still living at home with your parents, mainly because the cost of living is crazy. To get a 1-bedroom flat is expensive and you want to blow your entire salary on on rent. I think that's a really stupid investment. But definitely here in South Africa, I've experienced a lot more freedom here. And another thing as well in living in UK is that usually if you're working a 9 to 5, you can.
I'm just trying to remember how old was I when I moved out of my mother's house. I think the first time I moved out, I think I was about 18. I moved out, went to live with one of my older brothers, which I lived with him for 6 months. We got broken into by 2 people that he knows, right? They broke in and they nicked some stupid nonsense, a VHS video recorder. The most expensive stuff that they could have nicked and sold, they left, which was my keyboards. At the time, I was a keyboard player in the band. So they left all my keyboards and, they could have nicked all that. For some reason, they left it. And they missed a load of money that I had as well for some weird reason. They nicked a TV and a VHS video recorder. I know, they nicked some of my brother's money. We had to go and deal with them. We went and dealt with them. But God, yeah. Anyway, that's the first time. Second time I moved out was when I was 24. I went back home after that. I lived with mum for a few years. And I bought my first 2-bedroom apartment. I bought it from the local council on the so-called, what was called then the Right to Buy scheme. I bought a 2-bed flat. That's my first flat when I was 24 years old. I think I was very, very lucky. I had a studio in my bedroom, and my mum didn't like the noise. And my brother's wife said, "Why don't I put my name down on the Right to Buy?" I did that. Bought the second flat that I went to see, and I got to say that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. But I mean, most 24-year-olds in the UK, I mean, that was a long time ago. Most 24-year-olds in the UK are not going to be in a position to be buying their own apartment, not in 2025.
Only take 1 or maybe 2 trips a year. Take 1 trip to maybe Spain or Greece, but that's really it, right? Because I know a lot of people who live in UK, they take trips often to Europe, right? Whereas when I'm living in South Africa, I'm 1 flight away from Mauritius, an amazing, beautiful island with nice landscapes, or I can go and visit other areas in Africa. Like for me, the reason why I want to build Johannesburg or South Africa more broadly as my base is because I want to travel more within Africa. I wasn't really interested in living in Europe. I wanted to live in Africa. And I'm only 1 flight away from Zambia, which I've been to, from Botswana, from even Nigeria. I want to visit Nigeria if I want to live there, but I want to be very central in Africa. If I want to go to Dubai, like I'm just thinking about it.
And that's another little thing. Listen, if you want to go and explore the African continent, right, just set yourself up in any one of those countries. If it's Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, just set yourself up in one of those countries, and it gives you access to the whole continent. And then you could just go and explore it, because to fly from country to country, once you're there, is a lot less money than it is to try and, be traveling backwards and forwards from the UK. Definitely forget about doing it regular from the States, because it's if it's just imagine if it's 2,000 quid plus for me to get from the UK to Jamaica, right? Can you see how much it's going to be to try and get from the UK to anywhere in the States? It's going to be an astronomical price. You may as well just move to an African country, and then you could use it as a jumping off point to anywhere you want to go and visit in Africa.
Even like the distance from here to Dubai is equidistant from Dubai to London, right? It's just that I have more opportunities here, more places to travel to that I personally want to go to. And the final reason is personal growth. Now, moving to a new country forces you to get your comfort zone, right? Living at home with your parents, where you kind of just meet the same people, or you know the same people that you grew up with, it doesn't really accelerate your personal development. It doesn't put you in a very risky environment. I've moved thousands of miles away from my own home, not knowing anyone, had to build a new life, had to self-fund myself from my own money. Like, it's not even like I've got rich parents to ask them, hey, could you pay for this, pay for that? No, I've self-funded it with all my own ventures for 50 months, if you include the time I was in Dubai. That's forced me to grow. It's forced me to work harder. It's forced me to find opportunities
Mm.
that are going to be able to sustain myself for the years to come, right? If I stayed in London when you're living with your parents, you don't have that drive. You become very lazy because you know, okay, worst case scenario, my mum can just give me money or my dad can give me money or I can, at least I've got a roof over my head, my mum's feeding me. You don't really have to kick up your ass to really go after and get the things you want in life, which is one of the biggest reasons why I've moved, not only just to Birmingham, or not only just to Portugal, but I moved literally halfway or even more across the world because I wanted to really put myself in an uncomfortable situation that forces me to work harder. All right, guys, so that's a wrap for the 5 reasons why I've left London to live in South Africa. I'm living in Johannesburg.
Right, okay.
I've heard videos before. Why?
I'll lend that one there, right? Yeah, I thought that was interesting because in 2025, and how that video relates to the theme of this stream, it's just about saying to you guys, listen, and saying to myself as well, you know, I am on this road as well, right? It's about encouraging us to basically say, we don't have to stay in our part of the West, wherever you are, you know, if you're in the UK, any part of Europe, if you can understand, if you know English, or you may be a French speaker or some other language speaker, or if you're in the States, we don't have to stay here. That's what that video is all about. So it's just a bit of encouragement around that. Okay. All right. What I thought would be interesting to do, following on from that video, I thought it'd be interesting to look at the cost of, or begin to look at the cost of property in South Africa, which I've never done. I've been meaning to do it, but off the back of that video, I thought it'd be interesting to do that. All right. So here it is. So I'm going to be looking at just 2 properties, right? I mean, literally, I just spent not that long. I spent probably about 30 minutes today, found a website and did a quick search at properties around Johannesburg. Just off the back of that video, that guy said that he had a 3 or 4 bedroom house in Johannesburg, a place called Sandton, right? So I thought, let me go and have a quick look. Okay, and this is by no means an extensive search. So this particular one, actually, let's start off with this one. So this particular one is a 2-bedroom apartment in a place called Sandton. Get rid of that. In a place called Sandton. Let me just check that you can actually see it. Yeah, cool. In a place called Sandton. So let's just go through it. So this is what you get. It's you know, it's an average apartment basically. It's not a new build. You know, I've been looking at a lot of new builds in Nairobi, in Accra. This is not a new build. As I said, I know nothing about property in South Africa yet, but I'm going to learn. But I do like the look of this. I love the marble tiles inside. Obviously, similar to Jamaica, just because it's cooler. This place is not a bad size. You can see in there, it's got a separate kitchen area, sliding doors. I've never seen that before inside a house. Looks like a dining area. This one looks like it comes with some sort of garden, fair size bedroom, fair size bathroom. And it looks, that's the kitchen area, a kitchen area, bedroom, dining, well, living room, living area. This looks like the car parking area, maybe. Yeah, car parking area. And it's a gated community with security, with a swimming pool. Right, and obviously that gets, and you know, it's got manicured garden. So this is not a bad little 2-bed for £64,000. That's not bad. So when you're not there, you can stick it on Airbnb. Obviously, they have a gardener that comes and takes care of the garden. So this place isn't bad, right? That is a decent place. All for £64,000, 64 and a half, 2-bed apartment. The address, now this website is just Zoopla. That's all it is. So it's a very common website, just Zoopla. overseas. That's all it is. So Zoopla is very common in the UK. I actually didn't know that they had foreign properties on it until I'd done this search. So this is 72 First Road, Hyde Park, Sandon, 2196, South Africa. 2 receptions, 676 square feet, 2 bed. This is where it is. See if it's going to let us. Yep. Look at the map. So it's there. And as I said, I know nothing about property in South Africa. But anyway, this is on the outskirts of Johannesburg, it looks like. Just zoom out a little bit so you can get an idea. And that's pretty much where it is. Yeah, that is pretty much where it is. And what I did want to do, if it's going to let me, is this. Let's go that way. If I do that, just to give you an idea of what the area looks like, hopefully you can see that. So basically, this is an area full of gated communities. So it's completely safe. I know some people have got issues with security when it comes to South Africa, but this is purely gated. This is a gated area. I'm not so sure if I like completely gated communities, but I get it, and it is obviously safe. You haven't really got places like this in the UK, you know. So it's a different way of living. This is about Uber or having a car, basically. I don't know what side of the road they drive on, but I just thought that would be quite interesting looking at that. Yeah. Now I want to, so that's that one. That's 64.5. This is a completely different property that I want to show you guys here. And again, we're looking at this based on the last video. That brother lived in this area. He said he lived in Sandon. The previous one was for, if you like, a single bloke, a single man who may want to Airbnb the second bedroom, or when he's not there, stick his apartment on Airbnb. This one is I think it's a 3-bedroomed detached house. Now, I love this house. This one is going for 275,000 quid. No doubt you can put an offer in. Might be able to get it for, I think you'd probably get it for a lot less than £275,000. Now, with both of these, you know, in the UK, if you're an average man, right, who owns a house, you're probably going to have equity in your house. And what you'll be able to do is basically remortgage it, take the equity out and buy an investment property. You could either buy a similar apartment for £64,000, similar to the one that we just saw, or you could probably, if you've got enough equity in it, you could take out the equity out of your house and buy this. It's 275. I mean, this house that I'm sitting in has got more than this equity in it, right? So this is an option for more brothers than what you watching this might think. 3-bedroom detached house going for £275,000. You could probably get it for £250,000 if you're going to give them a cash offer. And obviously, with all property, listen, do your due diligence. By now, that has to go without saying. I keep saying it, but any smart brother that's going to be watching this, do your due diligence. Yeah, solicitor, lawyer involved in the buying process. But this one is lovely. Got a gorgeous pool. And I just love the way these doors concertina right out. It's got a balcony above that. This is, to me, this is ideal. And this, the way this has been designed, I love it. Basically, this whole thing about having glass doors inside, so glass windows inside, I've never seen it. That must be a South African thing. Not even in Ghana have I seen this personally, right? But I love the way this has been designed, man. The design of this is, to me, beautiful. I've never seen it. I've never seen this. I've just never seen this kind of design personally. So this is a nice house. And maybe it's just the way it's been put together, the zoning with the furniture. But I think it's clever. This particular house, I mean, and again, I've literally just spent half an hour searching. So God knows what the rest of the properties in Johannesburg or South Africa or this local area is like. I have no idea. I'm assuming this is another gated community. I've not had a proper look, but I do love the way this one's been put together. You're getting all of this for listen, for £275, you're not even going to get a studio flat in London. London, you're not. Look, the house that I'm sitting in isn't even in London, right? And even in this area, right, you're lucky if you're going to be getting a 2-bedroom apartment for £275,000, let alone a 3-bedroom detached house with a swimming pool and grounds. So this is how you can be living. Listen, and this is one of the things. This is really key to this live stream, right, guys? If you're watching this, or if you're going to be watching this on the replay, understand this, right? This is your bloody choice. This is your bloody choice, right? You can either have a bloody studio flat or a 1-bedroom, not even a 1-bedroom flat in London. Forget that. You can have a shoebox studio flat. You can buy that and have a crazy mortgage. How much would you pay for a studio flat in London? £300,000 minimum for a studio flat, not in Ilford. Because in Ilford, what can you get? In Ilford for £275,000, you could get you can get a crap 2-bedroom flat in Ilford. I'm just being honest, man. I've just got, because as I said, we've got a 1-bedroom flat in Ilford. This is how I can say it, because that place is worth only about 250, maybe 275, right? So for 275, you're looking at the cheapest borough in London. Right? That's just the God's honest truth. No shame in that. It's true. And cheap boroughs in London, eventually they become the boroughs. They become the trendy boroughs because artists move in, make it trendy. And before you know it, the price for a stupid shoebox has gone through the roof. But the bottom line is, in London, £275,000 ain't getting you anything. It's not getting you anything. But for the same amount of money, look what you can buy in Johannesburg. Look at what you can buy. Well, look at the size of that bathroom. Look at the size of that shower. Look at this. Look at the size of that. This is twice as big as my shower in this house. This is a big house for the money. Crazy. Look at what you're getting. Look at what you're getting. This is a nice house. It'd be great if they chucked in the furniture, which they're obviously not going to do. But this is a nice house. This house is beautiful. Fitted wardrobes. Look how big this bedroom is. Look how big this office is. Very difficult to do better than this. And look how big these windows are. These ain't even windows. These open all the way out, no doubt, to a garden area. All of that you're getting for £275,000. So you can continue living in your little shoebox, right, in London, right, or South London, right, or just outside London, right, or Harrogate, or some really nice place like that. You can continue living in your shoebox. You can, if you're living in the States, right, you can continue living in your shoebox, right, experiencing racism and all the other, having to code switch. That's the term for it. Code switch, and being stopped and searched by the police just because you're driving a decent car, right? Yeah. taking out modern women on crazy expensive dates, or thinking to yourself, hey, you know what, I'm going to skip this, juice ain't worth the squeeze, and doing nothing, going monk. Or you can say, to hell with this, let me go and find myself a better life. Better life. You can do that. It's called choice, right? And this is not to say that you're not going to be having a lovely life living in your little part of the West. If that's you, this dream ain't for you. All I'm saying is look at what, and if you're married, if you're a married man with kids and a family, look at what you can have. For £275,000, if you can work remotely, or if you've got an idea to start up a business, look at what you and your family can have. No doubt this is probably, doesn't say, or does it, that this is a gated community. It's not a lot of information. Here we go. Look, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 3 reception rooms, 2 garages, double storage garden, swimming pool, alarm, air conditioning, entrance hall, dining room, family room, TV room, living room, guest cloakroom, playroom, pajama room, whatever the hell that is, storeroom, scullery, whatever the hell that is, I don't know, balcony, fireplace, high ceilings, built-in cupboards, double base and shower, underfloor heating. Why the hell? Well, it might get cold in there summertime. Caesar stone kitchen, center island in the kitchen, extractor fan, hob, pantry, under counter oven, backup generator, patio, terrace, water feature, CCTV cameras, intercom, security complex. So no doubt this sounds like a gated community. Rates and taxes. So 1,775 Rand a month. I'm assuming that service charges, because I don't know how much that is per in English. I have no idea. That's the homework one will have to do. Can't be bothered to do it now. A double volume entrance leads to a gorgeous lounge, blah, 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 blah. Let's see what this says. Well, I'm not going to bother reading it because we've just looked at the pictures. Floor plan, asks the agent. Street view. Yeah, let's have a look at that. That might be interesting. Right, okay. So land for sale. So yeah, all of these places basically are gated communities. This is Sandon as well, I assume. But so basically these are all completely and utterly secure. And the truth is, yeah, I mean, no doubt you can get better, or you can get somewhere that's more suitable for you, right? But this is nice. This is nice. Caesar Blue Hive, you say, can you even own property in London? Yeah, you can. You just got to have money. You got to have an inheritance. You got to have an inheritance. That flat that I told you about, I bought that in Wandsworth. Wandsworth used to be a dump, and then it got gentrified. I bought it in 1994, and I sold that place in 2013 or 14. Right. I only bought it, it's a 2-bedroom flat. I only bought it to put a recording studio in the 2nd bedroom. That's the only reason I bought the place, because Mum didn't want the noise anymore. You know, we since put the studio in a complex, and I've sold that apartment. But yeah, you can own a place in London. You just got to have an inheritance. And that's the God's honest truth. You just got to have money. Yeah, you got to have an inheritance, or, you know, you got to be married. You see, I say the second point without jest, you know, because obviously, you know, if you're going to be, the average house price in London, I think, is round about, the average house, not apartment, the average house price in London is around about £600,000 now. Right, it's actually probably more than that. Let's say 600,000. How the hell are you going to buy that unless you're either earning upwards of, I don't know, £150,000 a year in London, or you're selling one property in London to buy another one, or there's 2 of you selling a previous property that are on decent money. Yeah. And when you get it, you're basically going to be living to work to pay that mortgage. What this stream is all about is suggesting to you that you can not live to work, that if you move country as a black man, you can work to live and have a better quality of living. That is what this stream is really all about. In 2025, right, we've got options. That is what we've got, options in terms of where we live, how we live, and also options in terms of relationship, guys. It's not just about cost of living. It's all about, why, what are the reasons, those reasons why we're alive, why we're alive, why we're here, why are we here? We're here to fulfill purpose. That's why we're here. Let's, be honest with me, right? Are you able to fulfill your purpose as a black man in the West? Or are you just living to work? Be honest. You don't have to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. Yeah? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Right, okay. So I just wanted to show you that, right? What I'm going to quickly do now, right? And there's a reason why we're going to be doing this. I want to show you, right, an apartment in Ghana, and then we're going to swing around to go in a different direction. We're going to compare Ghana to apartments and the cost of living and all the rest of it in Kenya, right? Right, so let me share this tab. You should be able to see that. Yep, you can see that. There you go. Right, okay, so I showed you this apartment a few months, not months, a couple of months ago. Yeah, a few months ago. And it should be, if my memory serves me correctly, here we go. So a studio apartment for sale in, just in Accra. I'm not going to even try to pronounce that. It is in Accra, right? 885 cedis. So I'm going to quickly have a look to see how much that is. 885 cedis on this. Yeah, look, this is the website that I use to convert, right? So 885, I think is, have I got that right? Yeah. No, too much. 885. Yeah, there we go. All right. So 885,000 cedis is 48,500 pounds. So for 50,000 quid, right? For 50,000 pound, you get what we're about to look at. This is 50,000 pound in Accra. Now, 50K, anybody can remortgage the house that you're currently living in, or you can just simply do it on the credit cards, to do what the Nigerians used to do and buy it on about five. I've got friends that used to do it. Just flip credit cards. Buy it on about 5 different credit cards, 4 different credit cards, interest-free credit cards, or interest-free credit cards, 18 months. Watch the apartment appreciate in value. Either flip it to new credit cards or sell the apartment, make your money. Oh God, I shouldn't say this sort of stuff, but it's true, man. Come on, man. Nigerians, this is what they used to do in London 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, now, right? But anyway, this is a lovely apartment for the money, 50,000 quid, right? What are you getting for that? What are you getting for 50K? Let's have a quick look. So you get somewhere with a swimming pool, and this is a studio. This is a studio apartment for sale, right? This is you're buying off plan, which is the best thing to do, with a decent company, that is, with a solicitor, lawyer, property conveyor, yeah. And you're getting somewhere. There's not a lot of pictures there, but I think you get the point. You're getting somewhere lovely looking for £50,000, under 50K. There'd be some sort of service charge attached to this as well. So we absolutely love the, I'm not going to try and pronounce that, City Apartments, and we know you'll love it too. Let's start with the price of a studio apartment, 59,000 USD, with the floor to ceiling windows, natural light in the living area. There's good roads all around the place, blah, blah, blah. Just off Spintex Road, which is on the way to Tema. Was it on the way to Community 25 going up that way? Which means less time commuting, blah, blah, blah. There's also security, privacy, beautiful landscaping within the gated development, which all make this these apartments an ideal home for first-time buyers or property investors. The studio is from 59,000 USD. The one bed is 86,000 USD. The two bed is from 135,000 USD. Each apartment comes with fitted contemporary kitchens, internet and cable, adequate parking, water heaters. Residents also enjoy a lift, rooftop, swimming pool, gym, a children's player, a 24/7 security and CCTV, and facilities management, right? Pay a reservation fee of 5% and pay over the next 36 months. So you don't even have to pay it all in one go. Fellas, you don't even have to pay this all in one go. So in terms of, so for 50K, right, you can start a whole new life. You can be working remotely, or you can be setting up business. The bottom line is for 50K, right, you can move somewhere with an appreciating market, right, around people that look like you, right, and basically get out of what is a rat race. Improve your mental health, improve your skin, all of the above. That is what you can do in Ghana, right? That's what you can do in Ghana. That's what you can do, right? That can be for you, basically, right? And there's loads of places like this, like that one. Let me quickly show you this. So you and I just looked at this one, right? We just looked at this one here, right? But if you want, you can go for other options in the same building. We looked at the cheapest option, I'm sure, but there's other options. This one's even cheaper, right? 1 bed and 2 bed apartment options. This is an off-plan one as well. I'm not going to bother going into it, but you can see it. There's loads of apartments in there. And that's look, that's 5.2. So this is way under. That's probably around about £45,000, probably not even that, right? And that's a brand new off. In fact, let's have a very quick look. Hopefully you can see that. It's probably not going to be a lot of pictures on this one. This is an artist impression, but that's more or less what it's going to look like. Still gorgeous, right? That is the layout. So hopefully you can see that. So you're going to get a balcony, living area, bathroom, kitchen area here. What's this? Yeah, that's the lounge area. I'm not sure what that is, but I think that's value for money, personally. Beautiful, right? So, oops, are we looking at the same? Oh, sorry, we were looking at the wrong thing. Right, okay, you can see it now. So this is the one that's around about, as I was saying, for 45,000 quid. You're getting swimming pool. That's the layout. That's what it looks like. Yeah. So you're getting, as I said before, you're getting a balcony area, living area, bathroom, kitchen area there. Yeah. It's all artist impression, but you know, these developers are good. You know, if you've been watching my channel, I've already shared with you that me and the wife stayed at a place called Embassy Gardens. We saw it when they were just building it. For some reason, we didn't buy it, right? You know, but the developers in Ghana, man, they don't joke, honestly. And you're getting value for money compared to London. You are getting value for money. You're getting complete value for money. So, yeah. So I just wanted to show you that before we do this. Now we are going to jump over to Kenya, right? So hopefully you should be seeing this. Let me check. Cool. Right. So we're jumping over to Kenya here, right? And we're going to be having a look at an apartment in Nairobi, a place called Emerald Springs, right? Some of you may have heard of it. It's an off plan. It's not been built yet. They're broken ground. You know, they're well underway, well under construction. But this is the online brochure, if you like. Now you can see their Kenyan shillings, £7,800,000. What we're going to do is do the conversion, right? So let's do that quick conversion here. All right, let's type in Kenyan shillings. Right, so how much was that? Let me just go back there and get the price. Here we go, Kenyan shillings. 7800, 78 with 5 zeros, 78 with 5 zeros. So just get this right. Right, 78 with 5 zeros. There we go. So that's not right. 78, that can't be right. That can't be right. Let me just get it right. 7,800,000. 7,800,000. 7 million. Just make sure. That cannot be right. No, that's not right either. One minute, bear with us. See that? 78, 1, 2, 3, yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, okay. Right, okay, cool. So that is 48,000. Yeah, so it's cheap. So again, it's under £50,000. Bloody hell, is that right? Have I got that right? I think I have, you know. 7, yeah, it's got 5 zeros, isn't it? Yeah, 4, bloody hell, look, it's just, so it's £48,500, because obviously that's where the decimal point is. My maths is crap. Right, 48,500 pound, right? So just say for under 50,000 quid, right? Let me just come back here. So for under, let me just check that you can actually see it. You can, right? So sorry about that. Got worried for a minute that it was too expensive. Right, so for 50,000 quid, this is what you get, right? So this is, again, this is artist impression. I got a video of this. No, well, not of the finished place, but just a video. But we'll do that in a minute. So for £50,000, you're going to get something that looks like this, right? So I don't know what words to that. You know, there are no words to express, in my opinion, the quality of what you're getting. None. You can see for yourself. For and again, this is all artist impression, right? But you can see the the ballpark of where they're going with it, right? Which is completely beautiful. That's what that is. I'm pretty sure I've looked at this one on my channel again a couple of months ago. But it doesn't matter. That's an outside seating area, swimming pool, seating area, lounge area, by the pool. Beautiful. That's the only word to describe it rather. Let's have a little look at this as well. This are these the same pictures? I think they are the same pictures. I think these are the same pictures. A few more artist impression pictures. Yeah, I think you can see that. So what do we get? Hopefully you can see that. And again, we're looking at this just to say to you guys, there's life outside of the UK. There's life outside of America. There's life for black men outside of France. There's life for black men outside of Germany. There's life for black men outside of Holland. Although I do like Amsterdam. There's life for black men outside of the West. There's life. And honestly, it's in Africa, right? Welcome reception area, rooftop heated swimming pool, children's play area, contemporary and fully equipped gym, 2-speed lifts per block, because it's a tall block, rooftop barbecue and lounge area. And if you're a resident of the building, basically, you can use any and all of these amenities. Smart home features include facial recognition technology, premium and modern finishes, abundant parking spaces, dedicated visitor parking, and security. Right, so very difficult to get better than. In fact, you're not going to get better than that for the money in any European or American city. It's not possible. it is not possible. So guys, if you're watching this, in terms of quality of life, mental health, finding agreeable females to marry, bringing your family, if you've got a wife and kids, or business, if you can work remotely, or if you want to set yourself up with a business in 2025, if you just want to use it as an investment property and stay in your part of the West, this is your future. This could be your future. That's the point here, right? That is the absolute point with all of this. That is why we're doing this, guys. Right. Let's do this. This is a video again of the same estate. So fair use. Let me make this nice and big.
Peace, love, and sunlight. This is Ankh Eru
Fair
from
use.
JamToursAfrica.com.
This is a
family.
Jamaican
And you
man
guys
in
know
Kenya.
today is the second day. Today is like the last day in Kwanzaa where we talk about faith.
Faith.
And this if faith without work is dead, family. So you know what I mean? You want to put in the work and then just have faith.
Just in answer to a question in the chat, Caesar Blue Hive, which country in Africa would you say is the most developed? You know what? I don't know, That's a good question. I don't know for two reasons. One, because I've only been to a few African countries, right? I've only been Egypt, Morocco, and Ghana. I've not been to enough countries to actually say. What I do know is that you've got loads of countries in Africa that are basically developed. You've got the countries that we never talk about. Botswana, I know, is seriously developed. All right, Tanzania is a developed country. Yeah, obviously South Africa is developed, Kenya's developed, Ghana's developed, and you've got loads of other ones that are developed. Nigeria's developed. You've got loads of developed African countries. I mean, obviously, you've got some crap leadership, right? Honestly, the ex-Francophone countries, to me, are the best leaders in Africa. Those are the best leaders, led by that young guy, 36-year-old man, Toure. I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but I am proud that 50% of my DNA, right, because I did a DNA test with African ancestry, I'm proud that 50% of my DNA comes from Burkina Faso. I'm literally proud. The other 50% comes from Nigeria. I'm proud of that as well, by way of Jamaica. But no, you'd be surprised, man. This is why we shouldn't believe the hype. Remember I said that in this stream? Don't believe that. And this goes to all black men that are going to be watching this, that are watching now. If you're going to be watching on the replay, don't believe the hype when it comes to looking at European or looking at American news broadcasts when they talk about the African continent, because it's all lies. They do not want black heritage people to invest in Africa. They want it for themselves. Listen, if Chinese, if you have Europeans, if you have white Americans, if you've got everyone else, right? If France finds it so hard to let go of ex-Francophone countries, right? There's a reason for that. What do you think the reason is? Because it's the world's bread basket. That is what Africa is. It's literally the world's bread basket. Which country in Africa would I say is the most developed? Caesar, thanks for being there, bro. But listen, we have to go and have a look. Me included. We need to go and look, or at least do research. As I said at the beginning of this stream, we've got the whole YouTube there, which is a decentralized platform. In other words, YouTube is a platform that's not controlled by European powers. Obviously, Africans don't own it, but content is king on YouTube, right? And as long as you don't swear, cuss, or slag off any other group, effectively, you can put truthful content on YouTube. So we can go and do our own research about the African continent in terms of business opportunities, development, internet speeds, business opportunities, safe places to live, best places to find a wife, a lifelong wife who's not going to run off with all of your assets. Well, we can go and do all of that research online before we travel, before we buy a ticket. And then when we talk about, if the States, if Black America is anything like Black Britain, as soon as we get our wages in Black Britain, it just goes straight out. It doesn't circulate in what used to be called a Black British community. It doesn't circulate here at all. So no, the most developed country on the African continent, I'm not sure. Right, but what I do know is that there's a hell of a lot. If you one thing I noticed the last time we've been to Ghana 3 times, me and the wife, right? And what I did notice when I was in Ghana was the amount of cranes on the horizon. It was just full of cranes right across the horizon. Anywhere I looked, there was building work in Accra. It was a building site. And so that tells you about the amount of investment that's happening in any city when you look up on that horizon, on that city horizon, and it's full of cranes. And Accra was full of cranes. It's developed already, but it's a boom town. That's basically what it is. As is most of Africa, as are most African cities. It's booming. And honestly, go and get your slice because everybody else is. A whole heap of non-Africans are. This is why, it's got you've got leaders that are. You've got slightly more trustworthy leaders, right? Slowly coming into the African continent. And the old leaders are dying. So what you're going to see, right, is development that's going to ramp up like that. It's going to ramp up. All of the new business opportunities, right, are going to be on African soil. That's the truth. I'm not making it up. It's true. Go and check it out. Go and check it out. You can do research online and then visit any country, whether it's Tanzania, because I think you're asking that question with a view to trying to understand where to visit. Right? Anywhere. I've got a friend in Zambia. He's living his best life. I mean, he's a big man. Must be about 60. But he's a God. What does he do for a living? I did an interview with him on my channel. I'm trying to get him back. He's a bit shy, right? But he's living his best life. He's a remote IT worker living in Zambia. He keeps telling me what he does, and I keep forgetting. As soon as he tells me, I forget. Something to do with security, something to do with managing systems online. But every time he sends me videos, he's mountain biking. He's mountain biking. IAS production, good to have you. I think it's the first time you've been here, but good to have you aboard. But every time he sends me videos from Zambia, he's mountain biking. And I just think, and in Zambia, and I'm just thinking, my God, man. I know that he had a heavy divorce when he was in the UK. He's got big kids, and he just clearly just said, sod this for a game of soldiers. I'm out. He's living his best life. He's living his best life in every way. And I think you can, if you're a man, you can imagine what I mean. He's living his best life. And you know what? More power to him. But, I think it's about visiting these countries. That's really what it's about, Just visiting, just going and having a good look. Raymond Hales, you say Kenya looks like the place to be at the moment. You got some great videos coming out of Kenya, right? For that saying a whole load of different things, right? You're talking about. I'm going to be really honest, right? No, but I was going to say Ghana's probably better for business opportunities, but that doesn't make sense. That's rubbish. I think as long as you got an angle as to how what you're gonna do, what kind of business you're gonna get into. I think anywhere on the African continent is gonna work, depending on your line of business. Relationship wise, looking for a wife, Kenya looks to be very, very good. Let's just put it like that. And guys, I'm going to be really honest with you, and before I move on, before you watch this video, because this is a bit of a segue. One of the biggest investments you're going to make is in who you marry or what woman you bring into your life, right? Let's put it like this, right? I've got a 19-year-old son. He's at uni at the moment. I've already told him in 10 years' time, in 15 years' time, when he's ready to marry, I want him to come out to wherever I've moved to, and I will help him find a wife. I'll say it again. I'm not offending anyone, am I? I've told him, you're going to come out to where I am living, and I will help you find a woman who wants to not just get married, but a woman who wants to stay married. All right, let's move on. All right, let's move on. Right, okay. So anyway, getting back to it, rewind. Right, okay. So this is somebody, I don't know what this guy does, but anyway, we're looking at fair use. We're looking at Emerald Springs. Is that the estate? Yeah, Emerald. I'm sure it's Emerald Springs, Nairobi. Have I got that right? Hopefully I have. Anyway, Emerald Springs, yeah, Westlands. Right now, Westlands is a lovely part of Nairobi. Fair use.
So Jam Tours is here. It's the second day of the 2025, they say, and we here. I have my brother from Canada here with me, and we're just gonna actually go check out some real estate here in Westlands. As I said, guys, location is the key. You talk about real estate investment, and when you think about coming back to Africa, if you're in the West, you should always have your money working for you before you come back. You should be earning in Africa before you even think about coming back. Yeah, that way when you come back, you don't get desperate. And, I just see something you want to get involved and waste your money. That's what most people do. They come with a chunk of money and they see the opportunity and they get connected with the wrong people.
That's an important question. So I have to stop this. Right. Raymond, you write a question there. How safe do you feel Africa is to travel solo? That's a good question. I've never traveled solo. I mean, all the times I've been to the African continent, I've been with, been with a wife, and prior to that, I was always with a girlfriend. Basically, I mean, the first time I was in Africa, it was North Africa, or Northeast Africa. It was Egypt. I've been to Egypt a few times, and the first time I went to Egypt was literally 1992. Was it safe? Egypt was safe because you had the army everywhere. On every corner there was a man with a Kalashnikov rifle. Was it safe? It was safe. Me being me, listen, if you born and grown up where I was born and where I grew up, right? You walk in a certain kind of way anyway. I'm going to be really honest. If you're born and brought up in my part of Battersea, right, South London, then you're gonna, if you can get through all of that, right, honestly, you can deal with a lot. There's not a lot you can. There's not a lot that phases me. Honestly, there just isn't. If you can grow up with people walking around with knives and guns, just basically looking to take something from you, right? If you can walk, and that's just the police. I'm joking, but if you can walk around with people with knives and guns, and the police looking to stop and search you and harass you non-stop from the time we were, 10, then how safe is the African continent? Is that the question? As a solo traveler, personally, I think, Ghana is completely safe. Ghana's beautiful, man. Ghana is safer than the UK. honestly, that my view is that Ghana is. I'm happy to have that conversation with anyone. In my view, Ghana is safer than any part of the UK for a black man. I'm happy to say that. The videos I've seen of Nairobi, from what people have said, is that most of Nairobi is completely safe. You got some dodgy areas where you got to go with someone from Kenya, basically. That's what I've seen. But most of Nairobi is safe. So I've seen, and that's the research I've done. But I would say this, for a black man going, there's places you've got to be mindful of in some countries from the research I've done, places where you want to go with a trusted local. It's about using your common sense. Apparently some people like to snatch phones in Kenya, but they do that in Oxford Street, London. If you got your phone out, you're walking down Oxford Street, someone's going to run up to you, grab it, or go past on a motorbike, grab your phone and drive off. That's London. That's central London. And then these little kids that do it will try and sell it. I don't even know why they're doing it, because you can't actually make money out of a smartphone these days anyway. But direct answer to your question, Raymond, how safe is Africa as a solo traveler? I would say, my personal view, using common sense, I would say it's about 85 to 90% safe. Just my view. But then again, I've not been to every African country. And again, it's about doing your personal due diligence when you're traveling. Yeah, you got to do your due diligence. I mean, there's places in the UK where it's not safe to go on as a black man. I'm assuming you're a black man. There's places in Jamaica. We're about to go to Jamaica in April, me and the wife. There's places I know in Jamaica where I wouldn't go, not unless I'm going with a family member, because my family come from Jamaica. There's places everywhere where you cannot go. Although for my money, I've got to say, Ghana, last time we went, we walked around everywhere late at night, literally. And, it was completely safe, man. Honestly, it was strange, simply because Jamaica is like Ghana, Accra is like a big Jamaica. It just felt like Jamaica, which was, I found that very, very strange, It just felt like a big Jamaica. I found that very odd. Answer to IAS Productions question. I watched it's not a question, actually, statement. I watched a TikToker in Zambia, and Zambia has a lot of developed areas. Absolutely, Zambia is beautiful. Zambia is beautiful. Raymond, you are a black man. Okay, cool. Not that you have to be black. It's all good. It's just good to know somebody's background. Anyway, let's get back to this.
You know what I mean? You lose everything, because it's hard to work in the West and come back to Africa and lose your investment, because the only thing you can depend on in Africa is a business.
Fair use.
The country is not, most African countries not so fully developed. So there's no jobs. You have to come to create business to create the jobs. So that is
true. Don't go to Africa looking for a job. If you're going to Africa, you're looking to start a business, or you've got investments or whatever it is, right? To be clear about that.
That's why when you come, you want to actually connect with people who can guide you on the right path.
So connections.
We have some Canadian brother.
Yeah, I believe for sure, like getting your money working for you, getting that passive income coming in is exceptionally important. There are opportunities, but for someone who's not been there or haven't lived there in a while, it's definitely tricky. You have to know.
I want to move on. I don't really want to be
seeing
any of this.
Information is trustworthy.
Right, this is the bit. We're going to come in here, all right?
Yeah, family. So we're at Emerald
Springs.
And
this is what we were just looking at earlier on.
The office. This is a 3D model. This is what it's going to look like in Nairobi. You see something like this. Trust me. You're going to want it. But trust me, you have to get it now. If you don't get it now, tomorrow may not guaranteed.
And I want to say I've got no shares in this. And the only reason we're looking at this is just to basically try and underline the point of affordability for black men living in the West that have got 2 pennies to rub together. If you've got 2 cents to rub together, if you've got a decent job, if you've got equity in your house, this can be yours. And I've got no shares at all in Emerald Springs. I wish I did, but I haven't.
Now that 11th one and one down there.
Okay.
So this is the 5th one. So Emerald, it's on Westlands Road. It's on 0.7 acre.
Complete side point. I love the way these women dress, man. I love traditional African dress, and this is more contemporary, a contemporary style. But I love the way these women dress. I love it. Just having something other than Western clothes. I love it.
And it will have 450 units. We'll have 2 blocks. So there'll be block A and block B. So each block will have 225, and then we'll have 25 floors of units.
Okay.
So we'll have 9 units per floor.
9 units.
Yeah, this is how the floor plan is going to be. So the entrance will be on block A at Westland Road, and everything is going to be smart. So we have facial recognition, fingerprints, and number plates. Then we have security,
And remember,
and then-
we looked at the apartment we looked at in this building was, don't forget, it was £50,000. 50,000 quid gets you an apartment in this building, gets you what was it, a 1-bedroom apartment in this building? 50K as an investment on Airbnb, on booking.com. When you're not there, you can be earning money from this.
Then we'll have a reception for the check-in and check-outs. Yeah? So we're going to have a basement of parking, and then we'll have number 1, 2, and 3 for parking.
Okay.
And then the 4th floor will be the floor for amenities. We're going to have an infinity swimming pool. It's 400 square meter. And then on block A here, we're going to have a 6,000 square feet, fully modern equipped gym
Wow.
that will have sauna and yoga area. And then we'll have kids playing area. On the other side, we're going to have an internal coffee shop, and a
Nice.
restaurant. And then on the other side, we'll have a business lounge. So it will have
So coffee shop, restaurant, she called it an infinity swimming pool, parking on the ground level, a concierge. So basically, if you put it on Airbnb or booking.com, you'd simply leave your keys with them. Visitors would simply come and pick up the keys, go to the apartment. You wouldn't have to be there. So when you're not there, it's going to run itself. It's a £50,000 investment in one of the most what a growing city, Nairobi. Very difficult to get a better investment for your money.
internet and TVs, so you can chill or walk or even have meetings there. We're going to have a structured garden here for relaxing. So it will be a Japanese kind of style garden. And then so our units will start on the 5th floor.
Okay, so the first apartments would be on the 5th floor.
Yes. So they will go all the way to 25 floors high. And then on top here, we're going to have a lounge. And on the other top, we're going to have a mini golf course.
Did you hear that? On the top floor, there's a lounge, and then there's a mini golf course on this one. Oh boy. All for 50,000 quid now. For £50,000, right? What are you going to do with 50K? What do you think you're going to buy for 50K in the UK? Anywhere in England, forget London, anywhere in England for 50K. You're not going to be getting something like this. It's just not possible. It's just not nowhere.
So technically, the structure will have 29 floors.
Okay, so since you're starting from the 5 to 25 and the 4
And then
before
the
that.
4, yes. Yeah.
And what's the distribution for rooms, like 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, how are they?
So this is how they will look per floor. And then you have the 2 bedrooms at the corner. So
Right.
you have 9, 8, and 1 being 2 bedrooms. So these ones are 1 bedrooms, and then you have 3 lifts
Mm.
per block.
Okay, so 9, 8, and so 3
Yeah.
2-bedroom,
1.
or 3 1
Yeah,
bedroom.
we only
Right.
have 3 bedrooms per floor. 3 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
Sorry.
So basically, it's just a mixed
So
block.
9, 8, and 1. Because of this curve, they're going to be
Mm.
at the corners.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a model of the 2-bedroom.
Yes.
Where's the 1-bedroom?
Behind you.
Oh,
Yeah. So
Right, so this is the
how
1 bed.
1 bedroom will look like. It's a 58.
Right, so that's a 1 bedroom, right? So you could say it's an all-in-one job. You've got your living area there. You've got your kitchen area there. I can't believe you're going to get a balcony, an outdoor balcony for that money as well. That's the bedroom. And yeah, this is it, isn't it? So that's the toilet. Hopefully you can see this. So you're getting a bathroom area there, ensuite bathroom to the bedroom, which is here. You've got a balcony area here, quite a sizable balcony. You've got the living area there, living area, and the kitchen area, all for £50,000. That's completely crazy. That's crazy. In the center of Accra, in the nicest part, well, one of the nicest parts, Westlands. You've got a place called Kilalishwa and Kilimani, which are nice as well, and other parts that are nice as well.
Square meter, and the entrance is here.
Hmm.
So at the entrance, you'll have an enclosed shoe rack,
Entrance.
which will have also cabinets on top. And then here you have a place fitted for your washing machine that is going to have storage cabinets on top.
Hmm.
So you have a door to access your washroom, and then you come to your open kitchen that will come with the wardrobes, and then it will be fitted with a 4-burner, an oven, and a hood.
Hmm.
And then here we're going to have an island here. Then you come to your living area that will have a floor-to-ceiling window that you can open on this side. Here you have a door to access your bedroom. It will come with the wardrobes, and then it has a door
Wow.
in the bedroom to access the washroom.
Okay, so you have to come out if you don't want.
Yeah, you don't have to.
okay.
And then you have a sliding door that is floor to ceiling to access the balcony.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so from the 1 bedroom, you can access the balcony from the living area, and then you can access it also from your bedroom.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So in this project, for natural lighting, all our windows are floor to ceiling. That we can use.
Mm.
So this is the layout here for the 1 bedroom, and this is for the 2 bedroom.
Not interested in the 2 bedroom. Let's
No.
see what else he. I'll put the links to all these in the description later on.
Nairobi.
What is that?
We're going to see the progress, as you can see.
This is the progress to it, yeah.
I mean, every day we're working on this, so we don't sleep.
Let's have a quick look.
So if you sleep on this,
So
you're
it's
sleeping and coming
basically
into Nairobi.
a way broken ground, and this is the building of it.
This is it.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Nice.
I'll just fast forward it because we're not going to be seeing a lot.
With the emerald color. And then we have
Oh,
our
these are
fire.
some of the artist impressions again.
Next to the swimming pool. Okay,
Yes.
nice.
And we also have this waiting shed.
This is all
Those
CAD
waiting sheds
drawing
and all that.
stuff. Brilliant, though, isn't it? For the money. I mean, you know,
That's the
I don't know. I mean, as I said before, we stayed in Embassy Gardens in Accra, and honestly, the build quality was
So this is
amazing.
the reception.
Reception, yeah.
This
Nice.
looks to be something similar. Yeah.
The lift area, we're going to have 3 lifts each block. And then this is the gym.
I do wonder whose money is behind this. I'd love to know who owns the company. That's a nice gym. That's a nice gym.
So the gym will be on which floor?
4th.
4th floor. Okay. So you can have a
Right.
view while you're viewing.
So those
Wow,
of you
that's
that want
nice.
to keep fit, which is
So
me,
you can still you'll see
this
what
would
is
be
happening.
ideal.
with view, yeah, that's like therapy.
So if you've got a business and you need to do meetings and stuff like that, you could just tell them to come and meet in your building.
And also the natural lighting, so we have the big glasses. So this is the interior.
Lovely.
This is the kitchen for the 2-bedroom. That's where the island will be.
Okay, nice. Oh, wow. That's the lighting and everything will be like that, right?
Yeah. I think for the lighting, you'll have to come with your
On light?
Yeah. But
I
everything
think
else
the
is-
cheapest options are not going to necessarily have all of these bits and pieces, but it's going to be, for 50k, man, for £50,000, you're not going to go wrong.
We're going to offer you a standard one, but I think they're thinking about giving.
Yeah, family. Just to let you guys know, at the end of January, the end of this month, family, the showroom will be finished for Emerald. So once the showroom finished, family, the price gonna go up, and it's not gonna be the same, family. After that, trust me, it's gonna be different. And
I'm going to leave it there. Basically, he's doing the hard sell for Emerald Springs. He's go and check his YouTube channel out. What's his YouTube channel called? Let's have a quick look. Let's go here. This brother's YouTube channel is called. Let's go and have a quick look. See if Jam Tours Africa. Right, so he's basically doing the hard sell to rustle up some business. I don't blame him. But Jam Tours Africa. Right, I've only seen a couple of videos on his channel.
yeah, family.
That one came up when I was doing research for Emerald Springs, and to be honest, obviously that's an amazing deal. But I didn't look too long. I didn't spend ages looking for that, right? I probably spent about 30 minutes, found Emerald Springs, did another quick search on YouTube. It came up. But these places, all over all over Africa, is developments. There's developments all over the African continent, and that's the bit that that I'm really trying to impress upon you guys that are watching this. The whole African, there's buildings like this going up all over the African continent, and you can have one. That's the point here. You can have one. You do not need to stay sat in your little part of the West, which is the whole point of this stream. Not in 2025, you don't. Not in 2025. You do not need to stay stuck. You can have your little bit of paradise for not a lot of money, not for a massive outlay, in a safe country. Going back to a question that was asked in the chat earlier, I think by Raymond Hales, you can have a nice, safe little bit of the African continent. You can have that. You can definitely afford it, right? So don't be thinking, oh, it's expensive, I can't do it. You've got to use your due diligence, obviously. That should go without saying. You should be mindful of, use a solicitor, use a lawyer when you buy land or property. In America and in the UK, right? You can't, well, you can, but you're stupid. You're stupid if you buy land or property without a solicitor. So why would you go to another country and buy land or buy a building, buy an apartment without using a lawyer or solicitor? Why would you do that? Makes no sense, right? So do your due diligence and get a professional to work with in your corner, i.e. a solicitor. Okay, what we're going to do now, we're going to look at, we're going to do this, right? Kenya, Ghana, 10 biggest differences, right? Kenya, Ghana, 10 biggest differences. This is all, I think, quite nice natured. And I want to say this, right? These countries are not perfect, right? So don't be thinking, oh, he's just trying to make these countries out to be perfect. Oh, he just what worked. Tell us about some of the things that don't work quite right. If you want to know what doesn't work in these countries, there are loads of videos on YouTube of men and women, mainly women, basically telling you why they left Ghana, why they left Kenya, why they left Africa, blah, blah, blah. Just go and watch them. You would be a wise man if you sifted out the things that are negative across the board from what that person's personal experience was. Not that personal experience are not meaningful, but that's all they are. They are personal experiences. You'd be a wise man if you watch them by all means, but just understand that somebody's experience isn't necessarily going to be your experience, but you can learn from people's personal experiences, obviously. It's part of doing your personal due diligence before you move to a country. You know, you've got to do your own research. You need to do your own research. That's really what you've got to do. So, yeah, I mean, that's not what this stream's all about, looking at what's negative about these countries. Honestly, I'm more concerned in looking at the positive rather than the negative, and looking at the opportunities. As I said before, if you've got a lot of non-African heritage peoples looking at what money they can make, what investments they can do across the African continent, why am I going to spend all my time looking at purely the negatives? There are negatives, but I'm not going to spend this stream doing that. I'm just not going to do it. All I'm going to say is make sure you do your due diligence. Do that. Things work slower sometimes on the African continent. People's timekeeping isn't necessarily the timekeeping that we may keep living in our little part of the West. In parts of Africa, in Ghana, when you move outside of Accra, when you go right out of Accra, you've got police that think you're going to give them money. Right? So a lot of the beaches in Ghana really need cleaning up. There's a refuge rubbish issue on the streets, without a doubt. Some of the leaders on the African continent need dealing with. Although, thank God, you've got a raft of young leaders, as I said earlier on, that are coming in. But for me, the positives far outweigh the negatives. That's just what I personally think. But do your personal due diligence, man. I could sit here, I could do a whole day stream about the negatives of Africa, but why am I going to do that? IAS Production says, the unfortunate thing is I have met many Black Westerners who are anti-African. Absolutely. Listen, I'm going to be really honest. I've met a load of Nigerians for the last 30 plus years. For the last 30 years, where are we now? For the last 30 years, I've met a lot of Nigerians that are anti-Nigeria. I dated before I met my wife, I dated a doctor, 98 to 2001. Something like that. I dated a doctor in London. I said to her, let's go and visit Nigeria. She nearly fell off her chair at the suggestion. She had nothing good to say about the country where her family come from. And she had nothing good to say about Nigeria, nothing at all, nothing. Even the first time I went to Jamaica was at the travel agents. We left it so long to book tickets. The only tickets that were left were Air Jamaica tickets. This is how long ago it was, because Air Jamaica, I think, were bought by Richard Branson's company. Were bought out by Virgin. So the only tickets that were left were tickets that were Air Jamaica tickets. So I had to ring, because my mom said, I went with my brother. older brother, my mum said, you know, me no want no Air Jamaica ticket. Me no want that. So all that were left were Air Jamaica tickets. So I rang up mum and I said, all that's left are Air Jamaica tickets. And this Christian woman, all she did was F and blind down the phone. All she did was F and blind. I went on and I had to hold the phone away. You know, me and my brother were just. This woman didn't want to fly Air Jamaica. So there's a lot of black people that have self-hate when it comes off the back of what you're saying, IAS production. There's a lot of black people that have self-hate about the countries where their people come from. Because obviously, you know, in Jamaica, my mum, believe it or not, had a British education that taught her generation to hate themselves. That's the truth. No, that's not an exaggeration. And that education has only begun to change recently in Jamaica. How do I know this? Because my sister-in-law was a school teacher in Jamaica. She's now a school teacher in, Baltimore, Maryland in the States. So we have to reprogram our minds. You know, we have to reprogram our minds as to how we think and feel and our attitudes towards where we come from, whether that's the Caribbean or whether that's an African country. We have to reprogram ourselves. Go more in depth. Go more in depth about what? That's a Caesar Blue Hive. Go more in depth. I'm going off track. That's really what I'm doing here. But no, we have to reprogram our minds, man. We have to reprogram ourselves. That's what we have to do. We have to reprogram ourselves. And you know what? Thank God we've got a man, a 36-year-old man, 35-year-old man in the form of Ibrahim Traore, who is putting older leaders to shame. A man 20 years younger than me putting older leaders to shame. Doing it with next to nothing. You know, go and do the research. Don't want to go too far off track. But that man, don't know where he got the money from, but he paid off his country's debt. To my understanding, the country doesn't owe any debt, doesn't owe France anything. Apparently paid the debt off. He's done things in the short time that he's been the leader of Burkina Faso that these old corrupt leaders in Africa, in the Caribbean, corrupt leaders in the Caribbean, haven't had the brains, the wherewithal to do. Scared. And this young guy's come in and anyway. Right, let's get back to this without going to, well, I've gone off track already. But anyway, look, you can see it. So Kenya, Ghana, 10 biggest differences.
In Kenya, these are the 10 biggest difference between Kenya
Let me speed this up a little bit.
and Ghana.
That's at 125.
From my experience, I haven't been in both countries. It would be difficult to compare both countries because I love both countries. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. 1. Language. In Kenya, they speak both Swahili and English.
Swahili.
Now, but I'm asking.
And in Ghana, they speak Twi,
Tree. They speak other languages too.
which is the most widely spoken language in Ghana, along with English. While Swahili is the most dominant language in Kenya, there are many other languages spoken in the country. In Ghana, other commonly spoken languages include Ewe, Fanti, and Ga. If there's something I observed about both countries, they prefer speaking in their native languages. Even when Ghanaians speak English, they mix it up with a little bit of Twi, same as Kenyans with English and Swahili. It was quite interesting learning both Twi and Swahili. 2. Diversity in population. In Accra, Ghana, specifically, you can find more expatriates from countries like Lebanon, India, China, and United States of America.
Exactly. So you've got a whole heap of non-African heritage people who see the value in going to African countries. They've gone there to invest and make money. So don't believe the hype. When you watch any Western media who try to slag off Africa, don't believe them. Don't believe it. Turn it off.
On the other hand, you can find more African immigrants in Kenya from neighboring countries like Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Somalia, Sudan, and Nigeria. Individuals must migrate to Kenya for various reasons, including work opportunities, education, and seeking refuge. Note, one of the biggest Somali community outside Somalia is in Kenya.
I didn't know that.
One of the biggest Nigerian communities outside Nigeria can be
What's she doing?
found in Ghana. 3. Safety. According to the Global Peace Index, GPI, Ghana is the second safest country in Africa and sits at the 40th position globally. I felt safe in Ghana. I moved around Accra, Ghana during the day. We are still in Accra, Ghana. So today,
as I said before, we felt completely safe in Ghana. We walked, the last time we went, we spent, I think, two weeks in Ghana. And we walked around everywhere, all around Accra, spent all around that night. The only thing you got to watch out for in Ghana are the gullies, right? Some of the gullies are open gullies, man, and they are death traps. You don't want to fall down in one of those gullies, right? I was very, very wary. The wife was with us. I was watching everywhere she walked because into my mind, she's got less awareness than what I've got. So I was just basically just really wary. Yeah, didn't want to fall down in one of those gullies. We call them, Jamaicans call them gullies, basically. They're sewers, really.
and at night with my gadgets.
That's nice. Look at that.
Feeling safe, and I didn't have to worry too much due to the famous phone snatching videos we see online about Kenya, and noticing the way Kenyans are cautious with how they carry their bags and belongings.
But as I said, listen, right? You've got phone snatching in London is rife. Basically, a lot of little kids go around on bikes, on motorbikes, snatching phones. It's like a children's pastime. When I say child's pastime, I mean anyone under 20.
I was always at alert and cautious of my environment while I was in Kenya. 4. Tourism. The tourism industries of Ghana and Kenya each offer unique experience and attractions. Kenya is well known for its safari adventures with popular destinations like Masai Mara National Reserve and Nairobi National Park. Nairobi National Park is the only national park that exists within a capital city.
Wow.
While Ghana boasts rich cultural heritage sites such as Cape Coast Castle and Kakam National Park. Both countries...
I went to that place. The first time we went to Ghana, we went there, that park. There's crazy high rope bridges. A little bit scary, man. These rope bridges are really high and you walk around them up in the trees. You got to have a head for heights. I tell you what, though, we bought some honey. I bought a liter of honey from that national park. The most beautiful honey, natural honey, unprocessed honey from bees. Right? That was amazing. That's amazing. I gave some away. Really wish I didn't.
These have diverse landscape, vibrant cultures, and opportunities for ecotourism. But Kenya tends to attract more tourists overall due to its established safari industries.
It's been amazing so far.
Safari. Absolutely.
Get so close to them, and experience.
I actually met a man with his family from the United States of America in Kenya who saved for a whole year for his family's vacation in Kenya.
Yep.
However, Ghana's tourism sector is ranked as one of the best in Africa, with a focus on promoting its historical and cultural.
Listen, Cape Coast, the old slave castle, honestly, number one, really needs to be protected and developed more as a tourist attraction, but also for me, because we went there as well. And number one, I understand why they would charge tourists. I'm not so sure that they should be charging Caribbean and foundational Black American tourists. I'm not so sure that they should be charging these groups or Black British tourists if you've got of Caribbean descent for obvious reasons. Isn't that obvious? I understand that they need revenue to keep the place running, or to maintain the place. I think there could be more sort of what's the word? I've never been to a Jewish concentration camp. I never have. But all of these places really should be treated in a certain kind of way. So I think work needs to be done in that area, not just with this slave castle, but because you've got slave castles right up and down the coast of West Africa. You've got another one in Ghana at a place called Dixco, where we went as well. But that's just my view of that, but it's worth a trip, as long as you don't twerk, as long as you don't spend time twerking on the roof of this place, all right, like those 4 women, Black women. Anyway, another conversation.
Cultural heritage. Now, halfway through the list, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. 5. Food. Kenyan cuisine include ugali, chapati, githeri, nyama choma, samosas, sumkwaki, amokimo, smocha, motura,
Samosa. So it's mixed with Indian culture, similar to the Caribbean.
While Ghanaian cuisine include banku, jollof rice, wache, fufu, light soup, and kenke.
Banku, wache, the jollof rice, fufu, everything, guys.
Both Kenyan and Ghanaian cuisine are rich in flavor, reflecting the diverse cultures and abundant natural resources of their respective regions. Both cuisines utilize a variety of spices and fresh ingredients, with an emphasis on hearty and filling meals that bring people together to share the joy of good food. 6. Transportation. Both Kenya and Ghana have different transportation options, but Kenya has a unique transportation system, from colorful matatus,
look at these buses,
boda to tuk-tuks. Matatus are colorful mini buses or van, known for their vibrant decorations and sometimes loud music.
In Jamaica, they call them chow-chow.
Bodas are motorcycles commonly used for short trips within cities or towns, and tuk-tuks are motorized 3-wheel tricycles that convey passengers around.
I think they have them in India as well.
We have
chow-chow. Oh, did they call it chow-chow as well in?
Which are privately owned minibuses and vans that travel or move around fixed routes, leaving when filled to capacity. I prefer the Kenyan transportation system.
You're in a black country because you have them little minibuses.
Efficient to move around.
You have them little buses,
and because
you know what I mean?
It is affordable. 7. People. Kenyans and Ghanaians are welcoming, friendly, and supportive. I was surprised by the things Kenyans knew about Nigerians when I interviewed them, from our way of life, food, movies, music.
They usually know the Nigerians about with the way they dress.
The way we dress.
Yes. And also, okay, a Nigerian, if you know a Nigerian has some money, they're proud.
And those are proud.
You definitely know them. Huh? They drive big cars.
Wow.
You see somebody, for instance, you become rich and you're a Nigerian.
Not all Nigerians flex like that, but most of the Nigerians that I know do. Most of the Nigerians that I know, most of the professional Black people that I know are Nigerian. And most of the Nigerians that I know flex because they got the money to do it. That's just the truth. They got the money to do it, man. So you know what? Good for them.
Of course, people will have to know that you have a bodyguard. Big mansions.
Wow.
I think there are people who enjoy life when somebody has money, and they also eat well. Yes,
even though we are not neighboring countries compared to Ghana.
Then I think when in terms of personality as Nigerians, you are extra smart. That makes them, quick to find money and quick to get money. Let me put it out. Which other people take it wrongly. Yes, they're just smart on the street. Let me put it out.
Both Ghanaians and Kenyans are
I'll say this, right? As I said before, most of the Black professionals that I know are Nigerian. It's as simple as that. It's the truth. Most of the smartest people that I have met, Black people, are Nigerian. Not necessarily the most conscious, but definitely the most academic, the most academically smart, and Black people that earn the most money That's just a fact.
Sensitive as they cherish their culture, language, traditions, music, and cuisine. Both Kenyans and Ghanaians display resilience, resourcefulness, and a deep sense of pride in their heritage. 8. Access to services as a visitor. Both Kenya and Ghana offer exceptional services to visitors, but the M-Pesa mobile money in Kenya stands out. With just your phone number, you can actually get access to basic services as a visitor, just like a Kenyan local. Accessing some basic services as a visitor can be a hassle in Ghana. For those who might not know, M-Pesa is a mobile money-based money transfer service payments and microfinancing service launched in 2007. If you've gotten this far, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. 9. Sports. Kenya is renowned for its dominance in long-distance running, while Ghana excels in football. Kenya's dominance in long-distance running, particularly in events like marathon and middle-distance running, is attributed to factors such as high-altitude training grounds, a culture that values running, and a tradition of producing world-class athletes like Eliud Kipchoge and David Rudisha. In contrast, Ghana excels in football with a rich history of producing talented players who have achieved success both domestically and internationally. The country's passion for football is deeply ingrained in its culture, with grassroots programs and academics nurturing young talent, leading to the emergence of players like Abedi Pele and Michael Essien. 10. Climate. I enjoyed both weather conditions in Ghana and Kenya, but I prefer Kenya in terms of temperature due to its cooler temperature. Kenya, situated in East Africa,
is hot all year round, man. I love it.
Influenced by its varied terrain. Ghana, located in West Africa,
completely love the weather in Ghana. I've been told by some people that Kenya can there's floods that happen in Kenya in some parts of the country. I think last year, at some point there were some serious floods, and I think the weather, I think it gets cold in parts of Kenya, but in Accra, in Ghana, pretty much all year round, you're going to get basically it's just going to be hot. And I prefer that. I prefer just it to be hot.
Shows predominantly tropical climate with less variation across its regions. You should experience both countries yourself to attest to this. Thank you for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Okay, so let me just quickly see because I cannot remember the name that this channel was. Let's have a very quick look at that. I thought that was a good video.
Tanzania! I'm loving it!
Connect Log TV over there, give us stuff like I need to. Let me do that now. You just practice what I preach. Okay, so this is going to be the last one we're going to look at.
Difference between Kenya.
Let me stop that. So what we're going to do very quickly, I want to come to an interview that Austin Holloman did with this brother in Kenya, and then we're going to call it a day, guys. For those of you, listen, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and all that good stuff. Make sure you sub my channel. Right, you actually saw me subbing somebody else's channel, so sub my channel if you are new here, and if you've gotten this far. Now, I follow Austin Holloman a lot, as I do his brother called Kid Greatness. Honestly, as I do a lot of other people, to be quite honest with you, because it offers me a glimpse into where I'm going. Right, even though we're going to be settling in Ghana, what we are going to be doing, hopefully, is traveling the whole African continent and doing business across the whole continent as well. For those of you that don't know, right, this is something that I heard very recently that's really important for the continent. They are going to be connecting the whole continent, all countries, via road. So in the next sort of 5-10 years, you're going to see some major motorways. This is really important. You're going to see some major motorways being built that link all African countries. Now, in terms of trade and movement, that is massive, right? So what you're looking at now over the next sort of 5, 10, 15 years on the African continent, you're going to see some monumental infrastructure development. That is, and it's already begun to happen, right? So this is what you're looking at. You're looking at the whole world is now beginning to turn their eyes to the African continent, because that's number one. That's where all of the world's, or a lot of the world's raw resources are. And the troubling thing for Europe and America is that the young leaders are now becoming more trustworthy. in terms of what they're doing for Africans. So this is why the old sort of neo-colonialist structure is breaking down slowly. All of those old leaders are slowly being ousted, or they're dying off. And one of the last bastions of bullshit was the old Francophone bloc, which is now crumbled. Not crumbling, it's crumbled. And this is a good thing for anybody that wants to relocate to the African continent, because you're going to see things like, basically the French were arming rebels in the Sahel, if I'm pronouncing it right. They were literally arming those rebels secretly. And now what have they done? They've gone just across the border into Nigeria. And what they're doing, they're trying to do destabilizing tactics in the whole of the Sahel region. But I think Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, and Senegal, I think they're more than capable of dealing with it, because the French never did. They weren't there to deal with anything. They were there to destabilize. So now I think what we're going to see now, as Europe loses its grip, England is no longer in the EU anyway. Yeah, they got a working relationship in terms of what do you call it, in terms of G7. But economically speaking, they are at odds with the rest of Europe. And that dysfunctional relationship is good for Africa, bottom line of it. And it's good for us. And it's good for black men. I'm just going to be really honest with you. But anyway, look, I'm going to play this interview. This brother basically speaks a little bit about his experience in Kenya. Okay, fair use. And this is on Austin Holloman's channel. Do go and give him a sub if you haven't done already. Great channel in terms of showing, his vlogging, showing his experience in Kenya. So definitely go and give him a sub.
So let's talk about Africa, and then we're going to go back to Bangkok. Number one, what do you think about what I said about Ghana? Because I thought Ghana was pretty Americanized.
So
it wasn't as bad
Kenya
as
with
the
Ghana.
West, but it reminded me a lot. I mean, from the way how the dudes sagged, the competition, like the flex, how dudes like to flex.
Yeah.
The women. I went on a date with a woman, and she showed up with this mug, like immediately. And I was, that's all too familiar to what I experienced in Texas. Like, she hasn't even met me yet. She agreed to come here. Now, she didn't act entitled. That's why I said it's not as bad. Because in the West, you would see that, and then you'd have to check her. I didn't have to check her, but it was just very reminding. What do you feel about my experience or what I said about it?
I concur with you fully. I haven't been to Ghana in a few years, many years actually. I've been to Nigeria most recently, and it's if you look at Africa, Ghana and Senegal and Nigeria and Ivory Coast, they're closer to the States, and they got direct flights. So there's direct United flights to Lagos, and there's direct flights to Accra, and there's a large Ghanaian, Nigerian population in the States. And Ghana has done a fantastic job of marketing the return of Black Americans.
That's right.
Come over here, we'll give you.
Again, me and the wife went there during the year of return. I think that was that the first or second time we went? I can't remember, but yeah, that year was a brilliant year in Ghana. Basically, that was a brilliant year. It was a brilliant year.
Your visa to stay. They want it's economics. We have our dollar goes farther there. And so I'm still in touch with my best friend I grew up with in Ghana, in Accra. We speak pretty much every day online. And it's the same thing. He was married 20 empty frats years, has 3 grown daughters. He said, and got divorced, bad divorce. He says, I'm never doing it again. So the modern mindset, the entitlement, modern Western mindset is infecting that area. You get farther away from the US, farther and farther away from Europe. It's an inverse relationship.
Okay, I would agree about that. Now, another thing about Ghana, would you say that Ghana was oversold?
Yes, completely.
When I got there, and they're like, the return, what is it, the year of return? Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to feel, people tell me, you're going to like.
I don't think, I completely disagree with him. I think Ghana and the whole African continent is undersold to African heritage peoples living outside of Africa. I think it's actually completely and utterly undersold. Seriously, with the amount of opportunities that exist on the African continent, that are in Ghana, I don't think the government done a good job. I think they've started. I think the year of return was a start, but compared to what they could, where's the follow-on from it? There's no follow-on from the government after the year of return. There should be all kinds of programs, all kind of advertising various business sectors, property. Nothing, from what I can see, there's nothing coming from the government. It's completely undersold, completely. The Ghanaian government gave 500 and something African Americans and Caribbean people citizenship the other day, and made a big deal about that. But in terms of what they could, what the Ghanaian government should really be in every Caribbean island, in every African American community. They should have a shop there, a stall, and they should be saying, come. They should be making it easy for Black Americans, Black Caribbeans, Black Brits to relocate to Ghana. That's what they should be doing. They should go there to where we are in the diaspora, a word that I hate. And they should literally be saying, this is the criteria that you need to do in order to relocate to our countries. So no, it's not. They haven't even started selling it, in my opinion.
Like the West more than the East, and I'm gonna let you know right now, Nairobi has, the standard is so high. Everywhere else I've been after that, Senegal was right here, but Nairobi was just, it's everything for me when it comes to Africa.
I want to come to Mombasa. Yeah. I'm dying to go to Mombasa.
I like Nairobi better than Mombasa.
Really?
I think Mombasa has.
I've just read your comment, IAS Production. He just wants to sell his tours for Kenya. I'm going to defend him on that. Why not? Well, he's trying to do business. We should, in my opinion, what we should be doing is promoting each other's businesses. We as Black men should promote his business. He should promote your bit. We need to get into a habit where we promote each other's businesses. Does that make sense? Right? So IAS Production, if you've got a business, you should feel free to put it in the chat. Promote it to the guys in the chat. Seriously, we need to get into a habit as Black men where we big each other up, to use that term. We got to lift up. If you're doing a business, right, one of the places where you should be able to get clients from are other Black men. Simple as that. So, he needs to really promote his business every single time. Every single time he gets onto YouTube, he should promote his business, as we all should, to each other as a start. It's as simple as that. We got to make that money circulate in our community, in our community of Black men. It's as simple as that. It should start there. That's what should happen. It should happen. Everybody else does it. Every other community, that's exactly what they do. Indians do it, Jewish people do it, white people do it, as they should. But that film White Men Can't Jump, at the very end of the movie, when Wesley Snipes' character gives those, you got some guys singing at the end of the film. It's a basketball film. And he gives them some dollars. I don't know how much he gives them. And then Woody Harrelson's character says, why'd you give them so much money? And then Wesley Snipes' character says, if I don't give them this money, who is going to do it? We've got to put money into each other's pockets. Seriously. In this country, my generation didn't do it enough. In fact, my generation never did it. I mean, just because, you got a whole heap of Caribbean takeaways and we'll go and get a patty, go and get some Caribbean food. Beyond that, we'd use, not me anymore, but, used to use a Black barber. But beyond those two things, never did it at all, never did anything. Listen to what I said earlier on. Air Jamaica used to be owned by the Jamaican government. My mum didn't even want to fly Air Jamaica. She used to go on and on, you know, that generation. I talk a lot about Jamaica. Jamaica, yes, yeah. But did they ever want to fly Air Jamaica? No. She wanted to fly British Airways, and I tell you, when we flew Air Jamaica, it was brilliant. Guess what we had? We had an in-flight fashion show. In-flight fashion show. These air hostesses, they got dressed up in whatever clothes, and they did an in-flight. I kid you not, an in-flight fashion show on the aisle. You know, the middle aisle. And the food was a hell of a lot better than bloody British Airways. It was edible. Didn't taste like rubber or cardboard. Seriously. It was lovely. So no, we need to support our own, mate. So no, I think more power to his little, you know, he's a 25-year-old man. More power to his business, whatever he's trying to do out there in terms of running his business. I think it's brilliant. I wish when I was 25, I wish I was doing it. That's just the God's honest truth. So no, I support any black man that's doing a business, that's doing any kind of business, any kind of legal business, right? I support them utterly in their endeavors. Let's try and get through this.
Has its own usage.
I like the ocean, so I'm wondering. You know,
saying, I've got a different.
But, I mean, I got to think back. It started. I mean, many years ago. Well, let's look historically. With Ghana, there was a famous black actor in the 20s and 30s by the name of Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson played, did many plays in Shakespeare. He played in Othello, in Emperor Jones, very famous movies, and he was ostracized. He got branded as a communist in the States. So he had to leave. And where did he go? He went to Ghana. Stevie Wonder, years and years ago. Where did he go? He's been a resident of Ghana for a long time. You see, it's easy to get to, and they are very friendly to the United States because so many Ghanaians live. Now, here's the thing: you've been in different countries in Africa. Tribalism is still a big thing.
I've noticed that.
So you have your Ashanti,
and I've got to say, so yeah, I mean that's the biggest issue I think outside of corrupt politicians. The second biggest issue is, or the biggest issue rather, I would say, is tribalism. Tribalism on the African continent is, I would say, is the single biggest Achilles heel of development, of true development, of accelerated development on the African continent. Yeah, tribalism. Do you know what I mean? You know, I definitely think it's getting better as the older generations literally die off and kick the bucket. I think the younger generations, you know, in Kenya, I know when last year they had the protests that went on for days and days and days. I spoke to people in Kenya and they said that you had all of the basically young people that were saying, nope, we're all together. Basically going talking against tribalism and all the rest of it. So it's dying out. 100% it's dying out. But I think we need to accelerate the rate at which we kill tribalism. Seriously, right? Because otherwise foreigners can come in and just practice divide and conquer, divide and rule, which is what the English did all over West Africa, which is what the French did all over West Africa, which is what the Boers, all of these foreigners do, which is what the Indians did in Uganda. Excuse me, before Idi Amin did what Idi Amin did, right? So you've got all of these people taking advantage of our tribalistic nonsense, right? In the Caribbean, you got some stupid. You got this. It's not really that bad anymore. But definitely, when I was at school, I'm not going to lie. When I was at school, there was a lot of negative banter between the islands. Stupid, and you know, so it's the Jamaicans slagging off the Bajans. A lot of the kids at school used to slag me off and say, "You're Bajan, you're Bajan." I'm Jamaican, right? You know, so you had the negative banter between the islands, and then you had the negative banter between the Nigerians against the Caribbeans. You know, You know, my best mate, one of my best mates who was Nigerian, used to say, I used to slag him off. Can't remember what I used to say to him now, but then he used to say to me, you were naughty. That's why we sold you. So a lot of it was completely negative, right? So when you think of all of that, right? And you know, how old were we? We started that nonsense when we was 11 years. This is at school. 11 years old. I started secondary school in 1980. So 11 years old until I left school in 1985, and we were friends. All we used to do was sit down there and cuss each other, literally in the classroom. That's all we used to do. And if your teacher laughed at one of your jokes, then you won the cussing match. You know, the idea was to make your teacher laugh at the opposition, and if your teacher laughed, then you won. And sometimes it ended up in a fight. You know what I mean? So. So that's all we used to do, just sit all day long, from the time you walked into school at 8:30 until the time you walked out at 10 to 4. It was purely about cussing, and that was it. And these were your friends. And some of these guys, if not all of these guys, I'm still in contact with now today. You know, I've known them literally for 45 years. Some of these guys I've known for 45 years, literally, you know, so, but anyway, Carvus Clav, if I'm getting your name wrong, do forgive me. The Jamaicans started all of the island beef. I don't know if that's true, you know. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if the Jamaicans started all of the island beef. Either way, it's nonsense anyway, or as my granddad used to say, it's fart foolishness. It's a lot of crap. But anyway, look, let's get back to Austin Holloman, right? That's another segue. I've got to stop doing these segues, man.
You have your Twee, you have your Fonte, and I know them in the States, and professionals, women who have different groups. She's a Twee, she won't go because it's all Fonte women, okay? Because those old bloodlines, I don't want to say blood fused, but the tribalism is still rife, and they'll stay in their little zones there. And it's not so much in South Africa, though, you know, because they have a common enemy and apartheid. So, but and that's the thing with Ghana, that it's
there is a way of celebrating your heritage without being tribalistic, and that is where we all need to get to as African heritage peoples, right?
Like they say with you know, Mexicans would always say, it's like they're so far from God and so close to the United States. That was a problem that they had, that the Yankee was always there. You know, I've seen articles where, talk about, you get off the topic a little bit, where so many retirees moving to certain cities in Mexico that the Mexicans are pushing back. We don't want all these Yankees down here. They don't speak Spanish. They're driving up the house values. That's what they can't afford.
So like I was saying, though, the problem I had with Ghana was people said I would like it more than the East of Africa. And it's supposed to be a year of return. They want more Black Americans to come back. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I felt a lot more, we want you here in Kenya than Ghana. I didn't feel like they were pushing me away in Ghana. But what I felt was the ease of getting in and settling in was not what I experienced in Kenya. That's why Kenya messed it up for the rest of it.
I want to say one thing as well. Kenya, well, they both were. Kenya and Ghana were controlled by the English. So, you know, the people will find one or the other easier for them. Kenya, you know, I know that Kenya is very, what's the word? The systems are based on an English system. Even the word shilling is old English money, Kenyan shilling. So, you know, the structures are going to be basically based on the UK. So, you know.
Africa for me, because when you get to Kenya, you get there, you need your SIM card, the Safari comes right there, you get that. You don't need an ID. When I got to Ghana, actually before we even get that, to get into Kenya, you can pay for a visa on arrival. Yeah. Actually, no, you can't. Now you can pay for a visa on arrival, but before you get it online, it's $50. For me to get to Ghana, it's $150, $200 to expedite it, and I had to have somebody help me get in.
You need to have a fixer.
It took a week.
Well, for those people that don't know, Ghana's recently just done away with the visa. So you do not need a visa today to enter Ghana. So for those of you that don't know, there is visa-free travel to Ghana now, and a lot of African countries are getting rid of the visa. So if you're coming from a black country, there is no visa. You do not need a visa. I'm assuming that includes the Caribbean. I'm not sure about African Americans coming into Ghana. I think you guys also get visa-free travel, I think.
That was the process I went through. But online, it says you need to mail in your paperwork.
No way.
Mail it to another country. Then wait for them to send you your visa back. So I was looking at that. Shit's going to take 2 weeks. Okay. But if I pay extra.
And I've got to say, yeah, the last 3 times we went, we had to do that, right? It's either we did it by, the first time I got my Ghana visa, I didn't trust the mail. So my memory is that I went up to the embassy it's in North, God, where is it? It's in North London. Belsize Park, that's where the Ghana embassy is in London. You've got one in central London, but no, the visa office is in Belsize Park, a posh part of London, very posh. So that's the first time. Sat down there for ages, got my visa. I think the second and third time I just did it in the post, and it was fine, absolutely fine.
I could have this guy bring me in, get my stamp, go in.
Yeah, you get a fixer, and the fixer gets kickbacks. I mean, I remember when COVID hit and people had to go into Ghana, they would say you had to stay at this particular hotel. It was the fixer's cousin who owned the hotel, and they would jack up the price, things like that. And so there's actually the half black, half German guy that went to Howard, me and Troy. Just call him. He's a pilot. He's in Germany right now, so we chop it up. It's funny you mention that, but I remember growing up in West Africa, and my dad and my mom would go to Ethiopia. It was a gem, in the 70s and 80s, and going to South Africa, and then going to Kenya and Nairobi. I remember seeing the safari pictures. I just hadn't made it to the east. I got to get there. And now that I'm settled in here, the flights. Another thing about being out here in Bangkok, you can fly anywhere cheaper than from the United States. And essentially, you can get up to Qatar and then down to East Africa. 6-hour flight.
I flew straight from Ethiopia.
Oh, you took Ethiopian Airways?
Wow.
I love them too. I love Ethiopian Airways.
One thing. So when I lived in Abu Dhabi for a few years, and I met a lovely Ethiopian woman who was a pilot for the big airline, Etihad. And I didn't know this, but
the visa process
tours for 2 weeks, and you burn through your minutes. Here you land, you get it, and then you want to refill it, you just go to 7-Eleven.
And it's super fast.
Super view of Africa. Mm-hmm. America bad. Let's go and live in Ghana where things will be better. But it's only because you have your Western money coming in, and you're going to be in the upper class the moment you get there. You see, we're here in Bangkok right now. I'm looking at the SkyTrain go past. The SkyTrain mass transit here is better than in Washington, D.C., where I live. Nothing in the United States compares to that. And that's why I need infrastructure. And you cannot beat the infrastructure here in Bangkok.
Yes, it's very developed. Very developed.
But they're not in Bangkok now,
yeah,
guys.
I think that Ghana, what they're doing is they want us to come back. They call it the return back. They like to money grab. Because when you get there, you got to pay for this, you got to pay for this. I went and got something to eat, and I looked at my receipt, all these different taxes, VAT, and then it said COVID.
Someone moved that on a
things inflated there. Japanese money. The area I live is tons. My building is 98% Japanese because their dollar, their yen goes farther. But it's and my number one draft pick down in Johannesburg. She's like, yeah, we don't have a plan to get out if you're not extremely wealthy. I mean, because they have the load shedding. The power goes out for 4 days. Power come back on, then the water goes out. There's only one working fire station in Johannesburg. You got to have bars on the windows. You see, the taxis aren't regulated. There's thievery everywhere. You can't leave your phone out. Somebody will snatch it out of your hand. I mean, I loved it when I was down in Johannesburg. I told her if I ever move to South Africa, we got to go to Cape Town. Cape Town has its own set of challenges down there.
Like, what would you say the challenges in Cape Town? That's my next African country.
So it'd be interesting to see what he actually says about. We looked at an apartment in Johannesburg earlier on in this stream, so it's going to be interesting to see what he has to say about Cape Town. Because I was thinking about looking at an apartment in Cape Town, but I thought let me just stick it to Joburg because that is the area where that young guy had moved to. So anyway, let's see what he's got to say about Cape Town.
Beautiful. God has blessed South Africa with natural beauty and resources. But I'm speaking anecdotally from my folks that I have down there, that they have, it's lovely there, the weather's lovely there, but they've got their challenges with crime and with gangs and things like that. Here in Bangkok, you see school children from elementary school to college riding the SkyTrain by themselves. People aren't getting snatched off the street. I mean, on a motorbike taxi, you drunk, might fall off,
that's not Bangkok. That's dangerous for the most part.
Nah. Same as, UAE, extremely safe, Japan, South Korea, Philippines, that's a different story there. It's just, but one thing about Thailand has never been colonized.
Yes.
Japan has been colonized. Philippines has been colonized. Korea has been colonized. The Chinese have really been colonized. All of sub-Saharan Africa has been colonized. So they're still fighting those endemic societal problems that came from the colonial era. Here in Thailand, they're extremely proud that they were never colonized. They've got that firm
maybe
base
Austin's taking a
of
flight
culture
to
and
Thailand,
society,
but
and they know that they're the strongest gang on the block. And so having that sense of comfort, that sense of knowledge that nobody's ever conquered them, the Thais are rightly proud of Abu Dhabi, things like that. But just cameras, leave everything out at the mall, your bag, your purse, your phone. It has to go through Dubai, Abu Dhabi at least once, but it's
right. Okay, I think that's about it with that one. Right. Okay. So the main thing to take away from that, I think, is, well, for me anyway, was two things. One, what he said about South Africa parts of South Africa or Cape Town regarding the crime, basically, and I do disagree with him what he said about Ghana being oversold. I think my view is that the whole African continent, including Ghana, is completely undersold by their respective governments. I think they could do a lot more in terms of selling those countries to African heritage peoples, basically, and making it a lot easier for African heritage peoples to get citizenship, to get citizenship. Let's be clear about it. To return back home. To return back. So let's try to find out where this was done, where he filmed, where he did this conversation. I'm sure he did this conversation in Nairobi. I'm sure he did. But anyway, I think pretty much that is pretty much it for today, guys. Listen, thank you for joining us. If you're new here, definitely subscribe to the channel. I've definitely seen some names that I've not seen before. So make sure you subscribe, right? Tomorrow's Sunday, isn't it? I'm going to try and do a stream tomorrow. I've got to apologize. I've not done a stream for a long time because I've had a crazy tax return that I had to do and get done and get my head down and make sure that I wasn't going to pay more tax than what I should pay. And I've given it to an accountant. I did the spreadsheet and then I gave it to a brilliant accountant that I've been using for a long time. This particular accountant has got offices in Liverpool in the UK and in Nigeria, which is a good connection for me. But listen, guys, definitely join us on my next stream. Subscribe to the channel and all of that good stuff. Thank you for all of the comments in the chat. I don't take it for granted, guys. Really, really appreciate that. Respect due. And listen, catch me on the next one. Okay? Take it easy, guys. Peace out.